The Kerr County Commissioners Court is now in session. It is Monday, June the 14th at 9 o'clock in the morning. At this time, if you would, please stand for prayer in the place will be led by Commissioner Harris.
Lord, we thank you for this day you provided us. We appreciate the spring rains. Our countryside looks lush and green and beautiful right now. Please keep it coming. Lord, we thank you for this country we live in where we can gather like this and worship you as we see fit. Lord, please take care of our veterans. Please take care of our officers that protect us each and every day. Our first responders, they're so important to us. Be with their families that worry about them as they leave the house each day. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. We've been speculating up here at the bench before we started. It looks like we have a long agenda. We have a lot of people, but we think we don't have many controversial issues, so we're hoping that we'll move a little bit quicker today. First part of our meeting always starts with public input, and remind everyone that if you would like to address the court, we are here to receive your input. It is not output, so that means that we listen, we don't respond, but it's a way for you to bring matters to our attention that you think are important. Is there anyone here who would like to address the court and offer any input? If you want to talk about something that's on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called.
Is there anybody out there out in the hallway?
Anybody want to speak to the court? Very well. Then we will go to commissioners' comments. And we have our recuperating Commissioner One. You look good today.
Thank you. Well, let's see, I visited all the precincts this weekend, tried to spend money in all of them or do something fun. I was at a garage sale, multifamily garage sale, precinct 1. I immediately took my proceeds and went to precinct 3 and spent it. And then I ended up in precinct 4 at the cowboy camp meeting and precinct 2 late yesterday evening to pick up a car seat a lady was giving away because we got 16 grandkids, so we always can use an extra car seat. So that's I try to make the rounds in Kerr County. Plus I got a complaint from precinct 4 and precinct 2 called to me, which I'm passing along as soon as this meeting's over.
Very good. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one to get a call from other precincts.
That's all I got, folks.
Well, I stayed home. No. In Precinct 2, there's, as we recall, there's the Archaeological Society is meeting this week. They have 350 people here camped out at Flat Rock Park and River Star Park. And they've got tents and they're digging and they're doing fantastic work and big time being out. They may come back next year. They said this has been a fantastic place for them to be. There was some concern on their part just from a vision standpoint. And that is next to River Star Park, there's some excavating going on there. It was an old building that burned, so it was been torn down. And people are in there with a bobcat and they're picking up dirt and screening it. That is not part of the Archaeological Society. They didn't want people to think that that's the way they do their work. It is not. So if anybody looks at that as concerned, saying these archaeologists don't know what the hell they're doing, it's not the case. The other thing is, remind everybody, or remind the court, we've got the meeting next Monday with the aggregate production operator consultant and a workshop here, which is going to be very informative. I've got the agenda and I'll pass out today. We're in the category of aggregate production and use standpoint. Ingram Ready Mix is plans on moving their facility on Sidney Baker out to across from the airport on Highway 27 behind Fox Tank. So that's in work. TCEQ applications have been submitted for that operation for air quality. And there's a lot of interest in developments in Precinct 2. Center Point Village is getting a lot of a lot of pro and con interest both, so that'll come forward to the court when the developer's ready to proceed. So lots happening.
Very
That's the
good.
reason I haven't been traveling around to other precincts.
And Commissioner Letts has an excused absence today, so we'll go to Commissioner Precinct 4.
Well, I think all of y'all probably saw the flags around the courthouse today. It's National Flag Day, and so fly your flags today with pride, in each and every day. So I visited with the gentleman this morning that's putting them out, and he said it's his honor to do this. He looks forward to it. So that's about all I have.
On a countywide basis, we lost a very important person in Precinct 4 a couple of weeks ago, Elizabeth Hughes. It was a great loss to the county and a great personal loss. A wonderful woman. Just wanted to share that with everybody, let them know that we've lost a great one. So with that, we'll move on to our consideration agenda. And the first two items have been pretty much routine for months now. Dub Thomas, our emergency management coordinator, I'm going to call both agenda items at the same time so that you can just lead from one to the other so that we can get this out of the way. I doubt that you'll be on the agenda for the next regular meeting, so I think we're to the point that we've heard about all there is to hear.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioners.
Let me call it. 1.1 is a discussion and update regarding the COVID-19. And 1.2 is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding update facility use and other matters related to the severe winter weather disaster. Dub Thomas.
All right, Judge. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. As far as our COVID numbers go, I only get information from DSHS on Monday now from the spreadsheet. That's what I've been using to verify positives and actives and recovery. As of last Monday, June the 9th, we had 23 actives, 4,448 recovered, and we'd had 89 deaths. On Friday, Peterson Regional continually notifies me of new cases that have come through them, as well as their hospitalizations. And on Friday, they had 7 people hospitalized. So we've kind of had a little bump on the hospitalized. It's been hanging around 1 or 2 or 3, and now we're up to 7. So hopefully, once I get those numbers today, we'll see that they've gone down a little bit.
And that kind of is post-holiday and opening of the summer season?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Okay.
Some information that I usually give y'all about the RMOC, the Regional Medical Operations Center that's provided by Department of State Health Services. Their hospitalization rate for the 28 counties in our DSHS Region 8 is at 2.3%. So that's still pretty flat lined, and that represents 148 people hospitalized in the 28 counties total. So I think we're still doing really well. We're well below the 15% threshold for the shutdown that we had several months ago. As far as vaccinations go, allocated number of vaccinations that have been allocated to Kerr counties remains at 20,100. Total administered doses is 34,872. 19,794 people have received at least one dose. 16,700 are fully vaccinated. As far as vaccination clinics go, there will be a code red on this today at 11 o'clock, so y'all's phones are all going to ring. But Department of State Health Services and the Doyle Community Center have teamed up for a vaccination clinic for 12 and up tomorrow, June 15th, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and it'll be at the Barnett Chapel United Methodist Church, located at 710 Pascal Avenue. The phone number for contact information, if you have any questions, is 210-949-2121. They're going to bring all 3 vaccinations. They will bring Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna. Pfizer is the only one that's approved or authorized for 12 and up. The other 2 are for 18 and up. Any questions on the Yes, sir.
What's the response been lately when we have these vaccinations? Or who's starting out? Is there a bumper crop of people still coming out for these, or?
No, sir. It's considerably decreased.
Decreased.
Yeah, I mean, when we started out, we were having 500
Sure.
or 600 people signed up, and now we're down to maybe 150. I mean, June 1st and 2nd, the first dose, the second doses that we did for the May 3rd through the 7th, where we had 666 people show up to get their first dose, only 150 people showed up June 1st and 2nd. And not all those were second doses, some of those were first doses.
Okay.
So it's gone down significantly.
I would think so.
All right, to the winter storm, we're continually asking folks to complete the individual assistance survey, the ISTAT. And that's the information that FEMA is using to determine whether or not Kerr County gets included in the individual assistance declaration. Governor Abbott requested Kerr County be included in the individual assistance declaration along with the public assistance declaration in his original disaster declaration. The first 77 counties were automatically approved by FEMA. After that, another 38 counties were asked by the state to be included. Those were all included, but Kerr County was not included in that request. The subsequent request after that was another 27 counties, I believe, and Kerr County was included in that request to FEMA, which we were denied. We are still we're still being considered by FEMA for an add-on county to the individual assistance declaration. So that ISTAT, individual assistance survey, is extremely important for us to get those completed. The deadline for that is June the 20th. All those that they've extended the deadline every month, so I'm hoping that this will be the last extension and that we can finally get a determination from FEMA on whether or not we're going to be included for individual assistance. And to kind of give you a number, I still have folks calling me and asking me about individual assistance, and I ask them about the survey if they completed it, and they say, no, I haven't completed the survey. We give them that information, but the numbers for those surveys are not changing very much. And I'm reaching out to folks, particularly in West Kerr County in the Mountain Home area. If you had some type of damage, please complete that individual assistance survey. That survey is located on the Kerr County website. The link to the survey is there. You just need to go back in where it says news and information, and you can pull that up from a press release. Or you can email me or call me, and I will personally send it to you.
So it's your thought that because they keep prolonging the deadline, that's one reason they haven't made a final determination?
I'm hoping that's why, yes, sir. We're still being considered by FEMA as an add-on county. Now, as far as local businesses, if a county borders a declared county, like Kerr County borders Gillespie or Bandera, then local businesses are eligible for small business administration loans. But as far as the individual homeowner, it's going to be that ISTAT survey that's going to get us over the hump. So some of the numbers from this week, I check them every day. This morning, for destroyed survey, we had 3. Major damage was 179, minor 122, affected was 58, minimal damage was 207 for a total of 569 surveys. And one of the things we've talked about for Kerr County being included in the individual assistance declaration was how much you had to have 5 homes and either major destroyed, underinsured, or no insurance at all. And to kind of give you an idea, on all 569 surveys, of those that indicated they had insurance, it was 432. No insurance, 86 people said they had no insurance. Unknown was 51. As far as the coverage goes, those indicating they had sufficient coverage was 238 out of the 569, which represents a 55% number. Underinsured was 85, which represents 19.6%. Unknown was 109 at 25.23% of those surveys. So that individual assistance survey, I'm pleading for the folks in West Kerr County, particularly in the Mountain Home area, to complete that individual assistance survey so we can get this, everybody can get declared and get some type of assistance.
Now, let me make sure I understand. In comparison to the counties that have been approved for individual assistance, we're lagging behind in our damage surveys that have been done?
Yes, sir. I haven't checked the other counties around us, but from last time that I had was here,
Bandera had 716, Gillespie 815, and Kendall County had 950 surveys.
And we're at 500.
We're at 569 right now.
And I had a lot worse damage than what Bandera did.
So it's all about that individual assistance survey. I'm going to talk to, got a phone conversation with our Region 6 recovery coordinator tomorrow, not only about individual assistance, but possibly taking a look at a long-term recovery group that might be able to provide some type of assistance to folks here in the county.
Okay. Anything else?
Anything else? Any more questions?
Thank you, Doug.
I
Yes,
would
sir.
say that that actually sounds like good news to me, that Kerr County is a little more self-reliant than some of those other counties. I see it the other way. I see it in a positive way. A lot of people just fix their stuff and move on.
Well, you don't get all the phone calls I get either. And, yes.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Yes, sir.
Next item on the agenda is 1.3, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on a request to approve one reserve deputy constable position for Precinct 4 Constable's Office. Constable Ryder, is this your first time in front of us?
It is, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I don't bite, but the two on the end do.
Well,
I'm just teasing, but
I think the reason I guess you know the reason I was here is for Precinct 4 Constable's Office asking for a reserve position. I think the judge and Commissioner Harris knows the person, and maybe they discuss it with everybody else or not, but it's kind of a parked position. It's non-paid, just kind of where he didn't lose his license kind of thing. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay. And you're good with it?
Yeah,
All right.
I
I'll
mean,
move for
I've known
approval.
him. I've known him for a long time now. He's pretty knowledgeable. So
Good.
this is somebody that's trying to maintain their peace officer's commission
it is.
and is placed with you,
Yes, sir.
and they're a volunteer reserve deputy constable.
Yes, sir.
So this is a win-win for us.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What's the practical application? What's the day-to-day or weekly or monthly routine going to be? Is he going to have actual duties? Because are we doing him a favor or is he doing us a favor?
I think we're doing him a favor.
That's what it sounds like. So what's he going to do?
His knowledge of the law.
Now, what's he going to do? I don't care what he knows right now. What's he going to do?
Can't really have him do much, to tell you the truth. And just because of another position he holds. And so the actual do anything would be probably show up at public events and be visible and help with that type of situations in Precinct 4.
You mean for security or just ornamental?
Both.
Okay.
Is this a precedent that we're setting within the county?
I don't think so.
Well, is it yes or no? Or is it a precedent we're setting?
Other
No.
constables have.
Huh?
Other constables
Yeah.
have.
This is very common.
Okay.
We've done
That's
this
what
for-
I thought, but I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure.
It's a common practice to hold these commissions so that they can stay active and stay involved with law enforcement.
So that's what it is. So following Commissioner Blue's thing, it's really for him. It's not so much for us.
Or it helped us, is like I said, I'm trying to say, is at public events and having more presence of law enforcement in the area. So it's like if the sheriff here can't have anybody out there, I could, or other constables could. It's just the presence of another uniform.
Does it cost anything?
No, sir.
Nope.
No uniforms or nothing?
No, sir.
I don't think.
Not a thing. Okay. So there's no downside.
And you need us to approve this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I'll move that we approve one reserve deputy
Already.
constable. Oh, you already made the motion? Is it seconded?
Not yet.
Then I'll second it.
Okay.
So we're done. Good. So with that, is there any other discussion? Those in favor, say aye. Or raise your hand. Aye. Unanimous. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, sir.
Come back and see us. Let's move on to item 1.4. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to accept a donation in the amount of $625 from Kerrville Pets Alive to the Kerr County Animal Services for the purchase of a PetLink Extend Max Universal Stick Microchip Scanner. Miss Sandy.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It was.
I get to say it again. My name is Shelley Sandy, and I'm at 3940 Oak Park Drive and treasurer of Kerrville Pets Alive. Kerrville Pets Alive would like to present Kerr County Animal Services with a restricted donation of $625 for the purchase of a PetLink Extend Max Universal Stick Microchip Scanner. Unlike the small handheld scanners currently used by KCAS personnel to microchip scan stressed, frightened, or aggressive impounded animals. The scanner is just over 27 inches long, so it gives a little distance to allow the KCAS personnel to microchip scan stressed, frightened, or aggressive impounded animals at a safer distance. The scanner's read unit can be worn on a lanyard, allowing the user to hold the antenna unit with one hand, leaving their other hand free for protection or to work with the animal. If working in pairs, one person can hold the read unit and one can go further forward with the stick antenna. The antenna is also bite resistant to ensure many years of use. It is also both Windows and Mac compatible and can be connected to any computer via USB or wireless Bluetooth. It is not required, but hopefully they'll get some new computers when we get this new shelter. I have personally seen the scanner in use at Alston Pets Alive, specifically used on feral barn cats during the intake process. The scanner's antenna has an extended read distance and when properly used is capable of reading through a standard transport crate by running the antenna's head along the crate's exterior side nearest the animal. Kerrville Pets Alive is happy to provide funding to Kerr County Animal Services to purchase this stick scanner to more easily scan frightened or aggressive animals for a microchip while simultaneously increasing staff safety. I would also like to take this opportunity to let you know that KPA held our first free microchip event this past Saturday at Glory Gardens. In all, 91 Kerr County pets were implanted with a free microchip during the 2-hour event, and we're already exploring more microchip events. We appreciate the support of KCAS staff members Nicole Golden and Jasmine Mead during the event, and we believe that reuniting people with their lost pets is another positive step forward to reduce impounds and euthanasia of Kerr County dogs and cats. By working together, we can make a difference.
I move for approval to accept the donation from Kerrville Pets Alive of $625 for Kerr County Animal Services to purchase a PetLink Max Universal Stick Microchip Scanner. And I really think what you get people at Pets Alive are doing, you thanked us, but we thank you immensely. So.
Thank you. We're trying.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Moser and seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the gift in the amount of $625 from Kerrville Pets Alive. Discussion.
We have pictures if you want to see
Guerrero
one.
here with us. Want to thank you all for everything that you do. This has been a really good partnership, and we're very, very appreciative of your efforts. So with that, I'll call for a vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks,
ladies.
Item 1.5. Do we sound the trumpet?
I did not, sir.
Information. This is an informational update on the Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corporation. George Eichner.
My name is George Eichner. I'm 604 Cardinal Drive, Kerrville, Texas, and this morning I represent the Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corporation. And I want to thank Commissioner Letts, who told me he was not going to be able to be here, for putting us on the agenda and letting us give you an update. As you'll recall, our project last year was to do the zigzag ornaments from I-10 to across the Sidney Baker Bridge. And then we did the lighted Christmas parade in conjunction and coordination with the county staff, and both very successful. And this year our project is to raise $200,000 to install an electrical grid on Tranquility Island for initially to light 105 cypress trees that border the river. And long term, though, this is going to open up the possibility of making Tranquility Island actually a holiday destination. But our focus is on Christmas, where you could have a Christmas village, Santa's workshop, and people will say, "Hey, let's go to Kerrville to see Christmas lights, as opposed let's go to Johnson City or Marble Falls or Fredericksburg." So we're really pumped about it. The Kerrville Economic Improvement Corporation gave us a $100,000 challenge grant. And right now we have $80,000 in the bank, and we are awaiting a $25,000 grant from the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. So the end is really in sight. We're still accepting contributions, and I have extra forms in case anybody else needs one here. The downside of this is the price of PVC. I went on the internet and it said that there's 67% of the PVC manufacturers in the United States are not in production because of 2 back-to-back hurricanes and the cold weather. And so it may be cheaper to put in gold pipe in September than PVC, but we're still collecting money, and so any money we raise goes to the city of Kerrville and will be spent on this project, 100%. We have no overhead, no staff, no nada. So anyhow, the second part though is that November 20th is going to be our lighted the lighted holiday parade and the courthouse, with your approval, the courthouse Christmas lighting ceremony. And Broadway Bank has signed up to be the sponsor of it. You know, they were going to do it last year, but because of COVID, had to back out. But they're committed and have a reasonable amount of money that I think they'll be able to put up. And we've had a couple meetings on that. And last year or whenever it was, we had a conversation about doing some sort of memorandum of understanding with the Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corporation, and I'd be happy to take that on if that needs to happen. Commissioner Letts is our liaison board member to the corporation, and so we communicate through him whatever your desires are on that.
George, so this is for trying to raise $200,000 and $100,000 would be a match with by
EIC.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So have you had any so far? You had any big St. Nicholas sponsors or Miss Claus sponsors?
Well, actually, we had two. HEB has donated corporate HEB has donated $5,000, and our really surprise is Richard Ferris at Cowboy Steakhouse. He donated $10,000. He's a St. Nicholas sponsor, and I don't know if you know Richard, but I always kind of figure him as kind of a bah-humbug kind of guy. You know, he never smiles. When he answers a question, it's 1 or 2 syllables, and out of the blue, Kerr came and checked in the mail. So he's our elf on the shelf for this whole project. I really appreciate him.
Well, hats off to Cowboy Steakhouse. Thank you.
You bet.
Right. This is a very worthwhile undertaking. As you know, I'm supportive
Well,
of
we
it.
appreciate it. And we'd take a check from any of the rest of you as well. So anyhow, well, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the report.
Thanks, George.
No action on that item, so we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is 1.6, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on a resolution recognizing Jim Mans for his service on the Kerr County Joint Airport Board. Mary Rohr. Is Mary here?
What item is it?
Airport Board?
1.5? Well, if Mary's not here, Judge, I'll be happy to pinch hit for Mary, okay? This is to recognize Jim Mans in a resolution for his participation in participation is not the right word, for Jim Mans' active leadership and contribution to the Kerr County Airport Board. Let me, if I may, read the resolution. Stand by.
Well, and while you're getting that pulled up on your screen,
Okay.
I've been advised from the airport board that they want to present this to Jim in person at our joint meeting with the city of Kerrville
Okay.
on June the 16th this week.
Okay.
So that'll be Wednesday afternoon. I think it's at 1 o'clock, and it'll be at the Youth Event Center.
Okay.
No, it's at the Deaton Center.
1:30.
Yeah,
1:30 at the
Deaton
Deaton Center.
Well,
So we're not actually presenting the certificate today, but we are acting on it as a court and passing that resolution. So if
Okay.
you would proceed.
Yes. For the record, let me read the resolution. Recognition of C. James Mans' service on the Kerr County Kerrville Joint Airport Board. Whereas, and we'll skip all the whereases from there on. Whereas C. James Mans served on the airport board from February 2018 until May 31st, 2021, and served as the vice president of the board from 2019 to 2021. Under his leadership, the airport board, with the participation of the city and county, worked to develop a strategic plan for 2019 through 2023 for the airport. As a member of the Joint Airport Board, he worked to update and revise the interlocal agreement that was approved by the city and the county. As a member of the board, he helped to develop new processes that improve the financial reporting of the airport. As a member of the board, he worked to develop and approve an annual budget. Therefore, Kerr County Commissioners Court does hereby thank and recognize C. James Mans for his dedication, leadership, management expertise, and valuable assistance in making the Kerr County Airport one of the best general aviation airports in Texas and a valuable and important asset to Kerr County. And with that, I make a motion that we adopt this resolution.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser and seconded by Commissioner Baloo to approve the resolution. Discussion? One thing I would point out is under Jim's leadership, they've taken the airport board to be self-sustaining. It's no longer underwritten as far as operations. There are some capital expenditures that do come from the city and the county, but in terms of operations, the airport is self-sufficient, and we are eternally grateful to that leadership.
And I would amplify one thing too. Jim worked diligently to develop a strategic plan, and it was not a 6-page strategic plan. It involved all the stakeholders in developing a strategic plan over a very long period of time, and they report on that strategic plan every month of what's being done to accomplish the objectives and when it's being done and what the issues are. So Jim did a fabulous job of leading that effort. So.
Very good. Then those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Next on the agenda is item 1.7, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club lease of River Star Event Park office and communication tower site. Shane Evans and Clayson Lambert.
Good morning, Mayor.
If I may, Clay.
Pardon?
The court has reviewed this lease in the past, and I think it had a $1 amount in there for the lease for the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club, and there also was an open question about the communication tower, where, when, and how it would be erected. So I'm going to jump one more step ahead of you. As part of this thing, we thought that it was probably they're going to use an air-conditioned building, okay, as part of their equipment if we approve this lease, and so we got information from Jake on the amount of electricity that's being used in those facilities. 2 buildings out there, the restroom and then the office building that's out at River Star Park. So we got that information. We know what the electrical consumption, power consumption is. Shane looked at the amount of air conditioning in those 2 things, and with that, the 3 of us then looked at it and said, okay, a fair amount of electricity used by Hill Country Amateur Radio Club is like $70 per year would be the fair amount for them to pay. But I think we're going to recommend that the lease be changed to $100 per year just for any additional use or things that we have in there. So I just wanted to get that over for the court so that we don't belabor it too much there. And I think the county attorneys proceed with that. Excuse me.
Well, I think you've pretty much covered it,
Okay.
Commissioner Moser. I don't have much else to say except we appreciate Shane's help. There was times when I had to call him, ask him a lot of questions. I know he had important things to do. I appreciate your input on that. So we're perfectly happy with that arrangement, moving the lease rate from $1 to $100 a year, and we're ready to get started.
Why don't you say something about as part of the lease too, it's a delineation of where the tower is. It's located. Why don't you give us an update on where that would be, what the schedule is?
We were very fortunate. This tower and ancillary equipment, if purchased new, would be just over $7,000. We found a tower that was only several years old, I think 2 years old. The ham radio operator that had purchased it passed away, and his wife is letting us have the whole package for $2,000. So we need to pick that up from San Marcos, bring it over. It's a freestanding tower. Commissioner Ballou was concerned earlier about guy wires. This one requires none. At our expense, we'll be digging a big hole and putting concrete foundation in there. The tower will be adjacent to the center of the building in question, facing the riverside.
Good. Shane, anything?
Sir?
Anything that you want to add?
Along with doing that tower, I think that's a great location for it. I would recommend that we get a dig test done in that area, simply because I do know that there's a gas line out there. I know it's along Highway 27 on that corner, far corner, but I would recommend a dig test for that. Just to cover our bases, make sure we don't get into any problems.
Well, with that, I will move for approval for the lease with Hill Country Amateur Radio Club in the county for the use of part of the office at the River Star Event Center and to erect the tower associated with it.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve the contract with the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club for the tower at the River Star Event Center. With that, is there any discussion? Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-4-0.
We thank you. And as I mentioned before, we have a little over 100 members in our club now, almost all of them with at least 30 years of experience in RF, radio frequency transmission. So we bring about 3,000 man-years of expertise to you, and we're looking forward to working with the Sheriff's Department, Doug Thomas, and whoever else to help them in any way for emergency communications.
Thank you very much.
And as the sheriff and Dub said, it's just another layer of communication. And as 911 said, it's another layer of communication in case of an emergency. So we thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on, item 1.8, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to upgrade the fire panel monitoring system in the courthouse. Shane Evans.
Good morning, gentlemen. Starting January or February, our communication device on that fire panel is going to expire. It will no longer, it's no longer going to work. It will not be supported by any of the systems. What it is currently is a 3G and 4G. And starting January, February, that's not going to work anymore. It's going to have to be upgraded to the LTE, which that stands for long-term evolution. So I recommend that we want to go ahead and get that replaced, but it also comes with a new contract once we do that. If we do this right now, the radio swap at this point is $950. And if we go with the 3-year term agreement along with the radio upgrade, it's only $599. And then the monitoring price would incur a $4.50 per month, and that's usually paid. That's paid quarterly. So currently, we're paying $248 quarterly to have our fire panel monitored.
Does this come out of your budget?
Yes.
Do you have money in there for this? How much of an increase is that, Shane? Or is this all new spending?
That will be an increase of, I guess, $13.50 a month. I mean, yeah. Well, it will be actually $13.50 more quarterly, and we're currently paying $248. And it's one of those things we should do as soon as we can, because if there's maybe other people that's going to wait till the last minute to get their systems upgraded, and then it will become a problem logistically getting people out there to do it, and the materials or the radio controllers to do that.
So is the equipment available now?
It's available now. They're going to be here the 26th of this month to do their biannual inspection on the fire panel. But if y'all approve this, then they'll be here to replace the radio swap and to do it all at the same time.
I don't want to get into the weeds here, but this, so after 3G, 4G, this is going to be a non-effective panel. Is
Yes,
that correct?
the term that they use is going to be sunsetted on January or February.
So what are people going to, it's not going to go to 5G, so what's it going to go to?
LTE.
Something you can keep updated.
Okay, I see, okay. So that was my question. Okay, thank you.
Everybody's in the same boat then.
Yeah, yes, sir. There'll be millions of people having to do this,
Okay.
basically. So, I would like to be kind of proactive and get this thing taken care of before we're out of code and, we do have to have this building monitored 24/7.
Sure.
Sure.
Well, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Go ahead.
Motion been made by Commissioner Baloo, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve the upgrade of the fire panel monitoring system in the courthouse. I think we've got the ABCs on the LTEs and the 3Gs.
Until they update it all.
Yeah.
Until
Is there
the
any
LTE
discussion?
fix-
Yeah. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Thank you, Shane. Ms. Lands, item 1.9, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the renewal of the Thomson Reuters West ProFlex Patron Access Edge for Kerr County Law Library. You may proceed.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. This is just one of the programs that we have that our patrons use in our law library to access legal resources. And I'm coming before the court to renew the contract for just 17 months to get it concurrent with our other program that we have with Westlaw, and that is the attorney part of our package. And the contract has gone to the county attorney for her review, so I'm just asking for approval today.
Okay, rate's the same as it has been? Or-
Yes, and this is through the dedicated law library fund. That's what pays for it, so it's
I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Harris and seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the renewal of the Thomson Reuters West ProFlex Patron Access Edge for Kerr County Law Library. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Lance.
thank you.
Item 1.10, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on a request from the Mountain Home Volunteer Fire Department for fiscal assistance from Kerr County's Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund monies for losses from the pandemic. And we've got Jack Clark. And,
Good morning, Judge. Morning,
I
Commissioners.
see Jake Short here is with us also.
Jake Short here?
Yeah, he's up here.
Okay. Jack Clark, Treasurer, ESD2. I'm mentioning that I pay for the Fire Department, but the reasoning behind it is ESD2 is a member of an organization called Safety. They're a group of lawyers in Austin that don't regulate, but they give us information on what things related to ESDs are. Several weeks ago, I sat in on a webinar related to this COVID relief fund package. And very confusing, but it was primarily, as y'all, I'm sure you know, was related to monies lost for counties related to, the reason we were there was so many of the ESDs have emergency services, ambulance service, and that was a big cost. I think y'all's is more like police department, plastic bins, partitions, those kind of things of direct loss. But one of the stipulations in there was that nonprofits who lost money due to COVID. I am presenting to y'all that, I'm sorry, Don, do they have what I gave you in your packet?
No, they don't. But
Okay.
I will say this, it's an overview of, I think, the last 5 years average from fundraisers and what they, Mountain Home Volunteer Fire Department missed out on last year.
We're asking, supposedly Kerr County is allocated 10.2 million. There seems to be some discussion as to whether 5.1 has been sent or none or whatever, so I can't seem to find that out. Judge, do you know what's the status of?
I think that is we're talking, the $10 million is from the American Rescue Plan, isn't it, the ARPA?
Right, ARP.
And I think the way I read your agenda item was related to the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Plan. Is that
No, it's from ARP.
Yeah, it will be.
okay? So it'll be out of ARPA,
Yes,
and that's correct.
Yes.
And we've been pre-approved for that, and we have limited items that we can spend it on, but all related to COVID.
Okay, like I say, that's, wanted y'all to discuss and see if you think you could put us in as a nonprofit that was fundraiser that was canceled due to not everything, but commissioners' court regulations. So that is the request. So there's $40,000 is an average over the past 5 years that we thought we would have made. I mean,
The way we handle this, Jack, is we work through Tanya Shelton, our county auditor, who oversees the grant applications, and what we'll need to do is to confirm that this qualifies for the funds. And we want to do this with all the ESDs or nonprofits. Mountain Home.
VFDs.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, Mountain Home Fire Department. Ours was established. We had a 5-year average that was canceled in October. My problem is that when I went to her, she didn't know anything about it.
Well, you get,
Now, when you say that, Jack, she didn't know anything about it, means she
Well,
had no information for you,
well,
or
no
she didn't know the
informa-
details?
No information for me. Told me of some forms that might be needed if it was there, but indicated that she didn't know anything about the money. That's the impression I got.
Well, I visited with Tanya on it as well, and it was kind of like it was hurry up and wait. You see, go ahead, Tanya, I'll hand off to you.
well, let me say, there are a number of organizations that are looking to possibly access these funds that are being made available to the county. And one of which we have a meeting on later this month involves mental health and developmental disabilities with regard to mental health deputies because of the problems we've had during the pandemic. This is a similar type situation that we have here where the VFDs have some losses that they would like to present. I think they all come, it just depends on whether or not they qualify under the Act. And the problem with that is they don't tell us right off the bat what qualifies. And so we stumble along until we get the green light. Once we get the green light, then we can submit the applications. I know that much about the process because we're already in the middle of that. But Ms. Shelton, do you have anything to share with us?
Yes, so there are technical assistance and questions that are asked all along. So far, there's been 3 rounds. One was about May 8th, one was on June 8th, and then again on June 10th. So on June 10th, they clarified what type of services are eligible as responses to the negative economic impacts of the pandemic. And it says in this that assistance to small business and nonprofit includes, but is not limited to, loans or grants, for example, by supporting payroll and benefit costs, cost to retain employees, mortgage, rent, utilities cost, and other operating costs. That's what the regulations are today. So for the specific of lost revenue, I do not see anything in here that addresses that. That doesn't mean that the question can't be put in and it might be answered further down the road.
Well, and you don't see anything that addresses it yet. And this is
Correct,
back like when we went through the coronavirus grants at the end of last year. We didn't find out till late in the game what was actually going to qualify, and then once we found out, we were able to place those funds. What we have are advocacy groups, I suspect like the ESDs or others, and MHDD and some of these others, that are advocating that they have losses that they would like to have qualified under ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. And what we're waiting for is the thumbs up green light from the government that they're going to do that. And so what we need to do with you, Jack, is coordinate getting those applications on file and so that we can stand in line to see if we're going to get approved for
I
that.
understand that. That's the reason I'm here. That's the reason I told Don that,
You bet.
had a lack of information, but like I say, I couldn't find out whether the money even existed or not. Does the county have half of it?
The money
do.
exists and the money half of it has been transferred to Kerr County. Yes.
Okay, so 5.1 is definitely
Yes.
thereabouts.
But if it gets allocated to something that's not on the list that Tanny was talking about, it'll get clawed back, and that hurts everybody.
Yes.
So
Well,
you can't do that.
do I, on my end, follow up with that, or as I make the application, will that go into whoever our meetings are to, say whether it's qualified or not? I mean, do I need to do anything at this stage?
Yes. Ms. Shelton?
The application right now, we don't know what an application would look like because we don't know what the rules are. It will be up to Kerr County to ensure that whatever funds we pay out through this are directly related to COVID, follow all the federal guidelines for A, B, C, D, E, F, Z, whatever it amounts to. So we are going to have to design whatever the program is before we actually start taking applications.
Okay, I understand that. But my point at this point is that I am applying to y'all as a nonprofit with lost operating fund revenue. I mean, we start out as fundraiser as a guideline, but that is direct operating costs for Mountain Home Fire Department.
Well,
Let me ask a question.
Okay.
It's not really a loss, it's revenue you didn't get, okay? So it's not, but anyway, set that aside for a second.
We didn't get it.
This is for Mountain Home Volunteer Fire Department.
Yes, sir.
That's the agenda. How about the other volunteer fire departments?
I'm sure they will line up too.
So as a county, if we're gonna look at this, we've gotta look across the board.
Yes.
Okay, at this. If we've got, as Tanya says, we've got funds, it has to be allocated consistent with the requirements, the guidelines. So I think it's something we need to look at, and probably, it seemed to me like Tanya or somebody goes back and asks for clarification on
Yes.
quote, the
Well,
loss. Right.
Are we talking about Mountain Home Volunteer Fire Department or the ESD?
No volunteer fire department, says
Yeah,
the
it's-
agenda.
This is for Mountain Home.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was very, very active, more so than any of the others during all
Right.
this.
I
So it's
know
gonna
that.
be, it is true. So,
we're
being
talking-
as, you can take my word for it, but it's
Well, this
gonna
is
be,
for COVID.
it's gonna, right, it's gonna be, oh, I thought you were talking about the storm.
No.
It went all the way
This is
through
for
the
COVID.
storm.
This is COVID.
Okay, through COVID, that's right. It's a part of the American Recovery Act.
Right.
So, everybody was about equally hit because nobody had their.
Right.
But each one lost a different amount, so my point remains the same. Everybody would apply for a different amount, and you have to, before you can apply, know what the criteria is. So you can put an application in, and then you get bumped to the end of the line when somebody else knew what it was, put theirs in first. So my suggestion is, being that this is okay with Ms. Shelton, that you just check back with her periodically until she knows, or that she would contact all the volunteer fire departments and let them know what that list is gonna be. I wouldn't know any other way to do that.
And Jack's bringing
Each guy has to be responsible for his own need.
Yes, and Jack's bringing it to our attention and speaking out because he's the first one that's really saw it on that webinar or what have you, and brought it to my attention, and so he's here on behalf of Mountain Home. Somebody else from Hunt might have seen it if they sat down on the same
Well, I
webinar.
think it's good that Jack saw it, but
Without a doubt.
but it's applicable to all volunteer.
To all of them, without a doubt. So that's the only reason he's here and not center point or somebody.
Well,
He's bringing it.
with one exception I might mention, ours is an annual event which was directly affected and canceled. Now, whether,
And that's true of other volunteer departments.
I'm sure it is, but I'm saying each one would have to say, okay, on October the 10th,
Yeah.
every year, we have a fundraiser, and this particular year it was canceled. That's the only thing I'm trying to put in. And I understand, I can say, but now I know that there is 5.1 million, and I will see what she wants to have from me to consider
Well,
or make an application or whatever.
And Jack, let me add this, and this goes back from last year's experience. If there's anything I've learned, the federal government loves the press to come out and announce that there have these relief programs. Then the devil's in the details, and you start getting into what qualifies for those grants. And I'm telling you, we went through heck last year with this thing.
Okay.
We went through the whole thing of trying to get hazard pay for our first responders, only to have them come back and tell us, well, you can't have that. And then they come back and say, but you can have payroll. So we ended up doing payroll. And they are a moving target, trust me. The press says they gave us the money. The money has been wire transferred, and Jack, I made sure that happened, and we do have it in our bank account.
Okay.
We're trying to figure out what's going to qualify to spend it. And what that's going to take, I think, and now I'm trying to land our helicopter and get back down on the ground, is I think it's going to take collaboration and just staying in touch with one another and being able to coordinate this, and we do that through the auditor's office. And I can assure you that the auditor's office is the most informed office in this courthouse with regard to
Okay.
getting these
Well, I'm
funds.
sorry, I didn't get the impression when I went there. So that's the
Well-
reason I'm here asking.
Then if, my impression is that they know more than anybody else, they know more than I do.
But they haven't been told everything they need to know.
Right.
yet.
And
So it's not their fault.
That's right, and it unfolds over time. They go through these, what do they call them, questions,
Yeah, frequently asked questions.
frequently asked questions, and we went through, I don't know, what, dozens back last year to find out what did and did not qualify, and then eventually they tell you what you can go ahead and submit the applications for.
Okay.
And what we're telling you is we want to fully cooperate in any way possible to help Mountain Home, to help the other volunteer fire departments, anyone that we can help in this community by way of nonprofits that lost money, we want to try to help them. But they've got their own regulations, and we're going to have to tie them to the criteria that qualifies for the funding.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Like I
And we
said,
are
I just
supporting.
thought this was a starting point, and I have the same act she did. I read it, and when it said nonprofit, and it said lost revenue and the things that were eligible, that's the reason I came.
And we appreciate it and welcome your
Without
effort.
doubt.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that, one more, I got my confused on which thing we were talking about, and then you had the winter storm versus COVID versus something else. So I apologize.
That's okay.
Commissioner Moser.
That's not a problem.
But each one of them lost a different amount because what comes in from the fish fry in Center Point is not the same as what comes in from the
Exactly.
steak dinner
Correct.
in Mountain Home. So that part of it does remain the same.
And Ingram doesn't even have one.
Yeah, and
That's
Turtle
the
Creek
down.
has a small one and it doesn't bring in as much money, so everybody still would have to apply for, if it was
Their
considered
deal.
lost income, can apply for a different amount. Just like right now, all the volunteer fire departments are receiving varying amounts of assistance from the county, and some none. So they're all different, so I don't want anybody thinking one size fits all. We had that, we fixed that, and we've moved on from that.
But one thing we would remind you, Jack, is Commissioner Harris is our liaison commissioner for volunteer fire departments.
Right.
And our ESDs. And he is our point person for this court, so please keep him in the loop
He
as we
came to
collaborate
me
on all.
Right off the bat. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But if-
That's the way I started, and so that's.
If the federal government will let us do it, I can assure you, we will get you across the finish line.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, it is 10 o'clock. We've got some timed items that after this. Why don't we take about a 10-minute break and be back here at 10 minutes after 10? We'll stand in recess. Okay. Then court will come back to order. And what we're going to do is we've got 4-H on the agenda in 3 places here consecutively. So I'm going to call 1.11, 1.12, and 1.13, and I'll read those off. And then what I would ask that the leadership of the 4-H group would do is let us know which is 11, which is 12, and which is 13, so we have a clear record about it. But with that, I'm going to call 1.11, which is consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve or deny a request from the local ISDs led by the Kerr County 4-H AgriLife Extension Office for use of the Texas Hill Country Youth Event Center show barn annually in December to hold their school livestock show. And that will be an action item that we'll need to make a motion on. And then 1.12 is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve or deny a request from Kerr County 4-H on free use of facility plus expenses incurred during the approved use of the HCYEC for the annual school livestock shows. And then 1.13, which is also 4-H related, is a presentation regarding Kerr County 4-H interpretation. So on 11 and 12 we will take action, and on 13 we won't, but you can present them in any order you would like.
Good morning. This is going to be line item 1.13.
Okay?
So this is the interpretation of our 4-H program.
And if you identify yourself for the record.
Yes, I'm Angela Fiddler, the Kerr County Extension Agent for Family Community Health.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm Jennifer Smith, the 4-H agent for Kerr County.
Okay, you may proceed.
And so I'd like to introduce some of our kiddos. This is just a few of them, but we're glad that they're here with us today. We've been on the road all last week, and we took them to state 4-H Roundup in College Station. So this is something that we've done for 75 years. And Kerr 4-H has been very involved in that. We've always had youth attend state contests. It's hard work. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that they prepared for all year long. So these kids, even though we've had the pandemic and everything going on, we've had to find creative ways to continue to practice with them, to train our leaders. We have different project leaders that work with them, experts in the field, and so whatever it is that they're competing in. So they've had to compete at the county level, and then they progress to the district level, and then if they win at the district level, they get to go on to state and represent Kerrville. So we're excited that they're here today. We took 7 youth with us last week. We loaded up the van on Monday, and they were counting how many curbs I hit, but I said we had a good time. And so if they would come on up, let's start with our livestock skillathon. We have Emma Thompson, Abigail Borden, and Lizzie Scales.
We were,
And each one of you stand up there, if you would, step to the mic and identify yourself so the public knows who you are.
yes, my name is Emma Thompson,
I'm Abigail Borden.
I'm Lizzie Scales, and we competed in the livestock skillathon competition. It was a new competition for us, and we kind of winged it. We didn't have a lot of practices just because of the pandemic, and we had wanted to try something new, and we kind of started a little late, but we ended up being 12th overall, which is pretty good for our first contest.
So tell them what to do.
Very good.
Throughout that, how many contestants?
I believe there were 18 teams and about 62 contestants overall.
Okay.
So we
thanks.
weren't black. But what livestock skillathon consists of is you have to know how to meat judge, wool judge, hay judge. You have to be able to identify feeds and what they're used for. You have to identify breeds and their characteristics. You have to know the instruments that are used. And there are practical tests, how to read a label on medicine, how to read a feed label, and basically everything that can go into the livestock industry.
Well,
So there's a lot of components. Okay. So can we go ahead and let them, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and let them talk about their next contest, the mohair judging.
Yeah. We were also the mohair team, so Lizzie's going to explain a little bit about that.
We did mohair judging, and we are kind of known for our wool and mohair components in Kerr County. And so we placed first overall out of 6 different teams at state.
first?
And yes, we placed first.
And we would expect nothing less.
No, of course not. Both, or well, first, second, and third place high individual did come from Kerr County, and I did place first high individual. Abigail placed second high. And
I was
then-
third high.
Oh, third high.
Yes. Our second high is not here today.
Yeah.
Yes, and I got 6th high individual.
Terrific.
Show some of your awards.
Oh, so we got like
Team banner.
banners and
This is showing
then
the king.
This
she
is our
won a
cane.
cane. And then
Commissioner Baloo may have need of that.
Tell them what it is.
So the cane is used for representing the wool and mohair component, since it is sheep and goats and shepherds. So we get little canes. for,
So the way she got her cane was she was high individual in one of the components of the contest. So she was high individual in placing, while our second place was high individual in grading, so they both received a shepherd's crook.
And why don't y'all tell us who the other person was?
Oh,
on your team?
the other person is Shelby Mahea. She placed second high individual and was first in grading and is third overall.
I have a feeling y'all know Dr. Fred Speck very well.
Yes, he's our
We just
coach.
had a 4.5 hour practice
I spent
with
almost
him yesterday.
5 hours with them yesterday in the 100 degrees.
It was wonderful.
It was a
It was
lot.
beautiful.
And why did y'all practice with them yesterday?
Oh, we practiced with them yesterday because we will be attending the Sonora contest this next Wednesday.
At the Sonora contest, though, it is a little bit different. So we have our wool and mohair, which we know pretty well, but we also have to judge plant ID and range, which, I mean, none of us are really experts in it, but once again, we are practicing and going for it. And then we're also judging livestock, and it's a little bit different than any normal livestock competition. It's different animals. It's breeding sheep, hair sheep, meat goats, and Angora goats. So,
And this is the national. This is considered the national contest.
And
Good
so
luck.
all of those things can go until we get points for everything, which is why we judge everything, even though we don't technically judge it. It all goes to points towards a sweepstakes bowl, which we did win the last time we were there. So we're hoping to get it again.
Yes.
Well,
Y'all seem to work together well as a team. Who's in charge?
She is the one that has been here the longest.
Okay.
I've only been here for 2-ish years, and she's been here
She's
since she was in
also
like 6th
typically
grade.
our high individual in like everything.
Yes.
So
I've been here for 7 years. My sister got me started, so I'd have to say she's in charge, but
Well, congratulations, girls. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
good luck.
All right, if I could get my horse quiz bowl team to come forward and then go ahead and stand right here in front of the camera and tell us your name.
I'm Kaylee Ralston,
I'm Nathaniel Hall.
and we competed at Horse Quiz Bowl, and sorry.
Speak a little louder and right at that camera.
Okay, we competed at Horse Quiz Bowl for state, and we made it a couple rounds in, I'm pretty sure. But we did really well for, I think, our first time going to state for a while. And
Yeah, we had to compete at district against, there was a couple other teams at district, and we made it to state where there was quite a few teams. This was the first time in a good 2 years, and so we didn't have as many practices as we would have liked due to COVID, but we still did considerably well since they just recently switched all the questions to more new stuff. That was all new study guides, and yeah, it was a really fun competition. I think we did pretty well, all things considered.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about what horse quiz bowl, how that's set up?
So basically, it's like a game show, if you will, where there's two teams all lined up. You have buzzers. They read a question. You have 5 seconds to buzz in, and then 5 seconds to begin your answering the question. You get it wrong, you lose a point. Get it right, you get a point. You get bonus questions, all kinds of stuff. And this year, they've introduced a whole new bunch of rules about team participation, where if everyone buzzes in, you get points, all kinds of stuff. And it's all about horse questions, very technical stuff and details about horses.
Good.
Good deal.
All right, and then, so tell us some of the other members, because not everybody's here today.
yeah, we have 2 other members. We have Ella Davis, and we had Shelby Mahea, which was also with the livestock and everything. And they just can't make it today.
It's a 4-man team.
Yeah,
a
4-man team.
4-lady boy co-ed team.
One person.
Yes.
So they have to study a lot. They have a study guide that they really have to know. So, all right, thank you. And so I'm going to let Nathaniel stay up and give a little bit of, is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
So like I said, I'm Nathaniel Hall. I'm also a Texas 4-H STEM ambassador. So outside of Horse Quiz Bowl and being a STEM ambassador, I also competed in educational presentation, but that's beside the point. So as a STEM ambassador at Roundup, our primary goal is to film and do interviews all throughout the week and produce a newscast every evening at the assemblies, and we release one in the morning on various social media platforms. And then we do other various tasks to help run the live cameras at the assemblies and such. And then outside of Roundup, which is probably our biggest opportunity statewide to showcase our skills, we're about a 20-person team. We also help from local STEM camps and stuff all the way to national level like 4-H Congress and the California State Leadership Conference, where we do basically what we do for Roundup, but for them with a much smaller team of like three members that have to run newscasts, the booth, and all kinds of things. This year was especially challenging due to the change in venues every single night. Typically they were always at Reed Arena. Now they were all over the A&M campus. And so that was a new challenge, but I think we did pretty well and being able to get there, do the cameras, produce a newscast. For instance, we'd be editing from noon all the way till 5 o'clock in the evening straight just for a newscast. So there's a lot of work that went into it and it was quite fun. So
Congratulations.
yeah, and for my education presentation, I presented on drones, basically. And yeah, I made it from district all the way up to state, and this is my 3rd year now going to state in education presentation. So yeah.
And he plays 5th.
Yes, fifth overall, so.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well done, both of you.
So, and I'm gonna, is it okay if I tell them about yours, or you wanna come up and talk about, I'm gonna let Lizzie Scales tell a little bit. She had one more contest she participated in.
I can tell she's very shy.
So again, I'm Lizzie Scales. I also competed in the educational presentation competition. I covered the importance of bilingualism in healthcare, and I placed 7th overall.
Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations.
Well done.
Jennifer, did you want to say?
So we just want to finish up by saying thank you for letting us come in here and telling you about what our kids are doing. They have a full summer ahead of them. We will be there. We've got a couple that are attending the Y'all Tour, which will be going up into the Panhandle. We do have some going to the Core Academy, which is a new trip for going. We're similar to the Y'all Tour. Y'all Tour focuses on agriculture side. The Core Academy is going to focus on the FCH, the Family Community Health side of it. So we will be going down into the valley, taking some kids down there this summer as well. So we have a lot ahead of us, and these kids will be very busy this summer. So we're really excited about what's going to happen. So thank you all again for having us.
Thank you.
And know that your children are always welcome. Never
Appreciate
hesitate
that.
to
Thank
come.
you very much.
Before we go, could we come up and take a picture? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get, everybody get on the side. With all your awards.
How do y'all want to do this?
Stand up and they right. I don't know.
I think maybe we sit and they stand behind us up here.
Okay.
All right, Peter.
Yeah, there you go. Let the reflection.
Let the short ones stand in the gaps and the tall ones. Let's get pushed. Let's get a little closer together. Make it easier on them.
Nathaniel can tower above them all.
Oh, this is great. You ready? Beautiful.
Okay.
Good job, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good job. Good.
Okay.
What you been doing that?
Okay. Nathaniel, thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Jake, we've got a couple of action items that we need to take. Let's go back to 111.
This will be 111. Yes, sir.
And 111 is to approve the request for the independent school districts led by Kerr County 4-H AgriLife Extension Office for the use of the Hill Country Youth Event Center show barn annually in December to hold their school livestock shows.
Yes. So thanks for taking the time today to discuss this. The District Stock Show has been making some changes to their show, which they own the rights to the event center for the month of January, making it where the school shows typically that were held in January need new dates. These dates have been requested to be in December. We have the weekends available, and this just stems, we want to add to Court Order 31715 from May 10th of 2010 to protect some annual dates for the school shows, as you will, as they lead into the district events in January.
So Jake, this is for the whole month of December?
We left it vague in December instead of trying to third weekend, fourth weekend. We know it might fluctuate based on Christmas dates, and so we wanted to leave it vague. In December, it will be just one weekend each year.
That's school shows, and then you have the district after.
Correct. It'll now be school shows to county show to district.
Just like we've been having KISD and West Kerr and.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to understand is use of the facility. This says for December, and then we've got January booked. So is this for all of December and all of January? So what's it for?
Just for one weekend in December. We left it open-ended because we didn't want to.
Okay.
We didn't want to pick a weekend.
For one weekend.
That's what.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Court does
In
say
the past,
in
it's been the
December.
first weekend in January.
Okay, but it says for
typically.
the month of December. So it's for one weekend to be determined.
To be determined, and we
Okay,
would,
gotcha.
if the court
Okay.
would give us the
Good enough. Good enough.
authority to make sure we coordinate with them instead of each
Sure.
year coming for the
Okay,
date.
very good, thanks.
This coming year, is there any conflict of bookings ahead of time? Or
I
anything?
had some holds, but we cleared those
Okay.
to allow this group, so it is available, and we would ask the court to give them permission to use it.
Okay. Well, I'm moved for approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion is made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Baloo, to approve the use of the Hill Country Youth Event Center show barn annually in December for one weekend, as I understand it, for the school shows. With that, is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Thank you. Next house cleaning item is 1.12, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the request from Spectra of Venue Management to contract with Kerr County 4-H on free use of the facility plus expenses incurred during the approved use of the HCYEC for the annual school livestock show. And this is just monetary concessions we make to the schools there at the facility. Is that right?
Correct. So now that we've approved and given 4-H some dates in December, those are dates we can no longer sell. We're based on revenue and expenses out there, and so we want to ask the court how that's supposed to, how you want us to proceed with that. 4-H is given free use of the facility. Per their contract, they're supposed to set up, tear down, and clean up the facility. We don't think that was written to include stock shows, is setting up pins, shavings removals, stuff like that doesn't necessarily fall under, we would assume, 4-H's realm. Therefore, there's cost incurred. So we would ask the court to discuss, make a judgment if those expenses are reimbursable. We know that 4-H is county funded, we're county funded. It's exchanging money in different buckets, or how that would look to supplement our budget to cover those costs is simply why we're here, as we haven't had a precedent to set that.
Have you and 4-H worked anything out on that?
We have not. The expenses are unknown at this time, basically because the timing of those shows lead into the county shows. Therefore, we might work together with the stock show, the district show, and set up the entire show at once, or if it's pieced out. There's a lot of stuff to figure out.
I understand. What we've already done, I just want to make sure I understand this, is that the schools are going to be able to use the facility without charge, right? And that's part of our public service.
Yes.
Now what we're talking about is there are going to be out-of-pocket expenses. And Spectra's looking to get reimbursed for those.
Possibly. It's up to the court's decision because we're both funded by the same.
I want to interrupt everybody. When we say 4-H, I think we need to say 4-H/FFA.
Right.
With everything.
Okay.
Because I know the schools, especially FFAs, provide a lot of the help, set up, tear down. Just like when I was at Ingram as an ag teacher, we used your facilities for free to have a prospect show which was a fundraiser for our chapter. We would help set up the pens, help tear down the pens. It didn't cost us anything. So I think we always, every time we mention this, we need to say 4-H/FFA, because both the same.
Okay.
I appreciate that clarification. I think the
Yes.
public will appreciate that also.
Well, I don't remember ever, you know, I've helped set up and tear down for the entire time my kids were doing it. I don't remember ever anybody being paid to do anything out there.
Well,
I think what we're talking about are Spectra out-of-pocket expenses.
Which is what?
The cost of trash removal, shavings removal, labor, setup, tear down, restroom attendance, all the
When you
normal,
say
all the
set
normal
up and
things.
tear down, you're talking about your employees, the employees of Spectrum that are on staff all the time? Or are you talking about calling somebody to come in?
Some of these shows do require part-time staff as schedules dictate. So those are unknowns. That's why if we're gonna contract with 4-H, it would be based on each year could be different, things like that. We can handle that in-house, but we wanna make sure to protect the taxpayer or our budget, that we aren't just, if we are to cover all those costs, when we submit our budget each year, those costs are gonna be in the budget for our hard cost to run the facility.
Well, Jake, I think, I'm just speaking for myself, and invite the other commissioners to comment, but this is something that, as a county, and county government, we want to make happen for FFA, 4-H, and Spectrum. And we understand that, you know, this may be, because we're changing how we've been doing it in the past, there may actually be some out-of-pocket expenses incurred. Would it be beneficial for Spectra to work with the FFA, 4-H groups and be able to give us a little bit better definition as to what those expenses may be, and come back to us when you know what there's going to be and what we need to handle? We want to support it.
Right, and we do too.
But right now, we're not sure exactly what specifically we would be supporting.
Well, and quite to tell you the truth, we don't either.
Yeah.
Okay.
These shows have always been set up by the stock show
Right.
in the past. The schools come in, the stock show took care of them. They cleaned out their pins each show individually, and then they left. There was no tear down. We don't know if that'll look the same, if things will be changed. So there's just some unknowns going into it. So we want to make sure to protect it.
And so that the public understands what we're really talking about here. In the past, the Stock Show Association took charge of the whole Youth Event Center for the month of January. And that included school shows and everything. Now what we're doing is, because they control January, we're going back into December to get the school shows. And so we have some unknowns that we haven't done before.
Yes.
Maybe that should be.
And we want to make sure you're covered, and we want to do that. But what I think is, should you be work with each other, kind of find out where you are, come back to us when we know what we're looking at, so we can figure out how to help. And what we want to tell you is, we want to help.
And I appreciate that, and I want to make sure to also keep it as simple as possible. We're dealing with 3 different schools. My desire would be that if we can just support this group and cover the cost ourselves, as long as that's reflecting our budget, we can take care of everything. That's all we want to make sure is taken care of, because there's a lot of unknowns. If we need to really nail that down each year, we can get better at it.
All I'm suggesting, Jake, is if you hit snags, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And I know you're working with different schools, and these are new moving parts that we haven't done before. We don't know exactly how it's all going to fit together. But what we want the FFA, 4-H people to know, and we want you to know, is we are here to support this, to make it happen for our kids.
Okay.
So
that's all we can hope for. We're appreciative of that support, because that's how we feel, and we run the venue as well.
So from the court viewpoint, do we really need to take action today for something that we don't really know how it's going to work yet?
From what the judge is saying, if you get a commitment from the stock show participants and Stock Show Association of what they'll provide in terms of manpower, setup, tear down, so on, you'll have a real good idea of what you might have to supplement that with. And if need be, then come back.
And if it's pressing your budget, let us know.
And that's all I need. As long as we have that support, we're completely okay with that.
Just come back when you know.
So, Sure. We'll know after the show.
Brian, do you have any input?
Wait.
I see you're here.
Well, I was just gonna, because of dates, of how this was going and kind of what Jake was getting at.
Go ahead, introduce yourself,
Okay.
Brian.
I'm Ryan Balzer, I'm the ag science teacher at Centerpoint. We've kind of been heading this deal and we saw the problem, what that was gonna happen, and we pushed the county show back, our school shows, and with the 4-H, kind of pushed us into the month of December. Well, because of state dates, because of mandate dates for testing, that's the week before the dates that we're looking at to have the show. So as far as setting up pins and getting everything set up for our school shows, which we've always done in the past, getting kids there, that's not gonna happen this year because of the testing dates and everything that are on there. And if we set those pins up weeks in advance, that takes more time away from Spectrum to be able to utilize the facility as far as to get funds that way. So that's kind of where Jake was getting at. I understand where y'all are at too, but we're in an unknown right now where we don't know exactly where we're going to be. So,
Well, and we are too.
yes.
And what we're doing is we're supportive of all the groups here. We want you all to work together, figure out the best way to do this, and then when you see how it's going to impact you, come back and talk to us so we can help.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So, no action on that at this time?
No action.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Next, I'm going to call items 1.14, 1.15, 1.16, and 1.17 at this time for the sheriff. And we'll go through each one of these gifts that have been made to the sheriff's department. Sheriff Lake.
Yes. Yeah, 1.14 through 1.17, these are donations for the special response team we're putting together. So I'm just looking for y'all's approval today.
Move for approval.
Second.
And this move for approval on 14, 15, 16, and 17, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and these are just accepting gifts from your special response team.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we got a motion made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve these gifts and receive them for the sheriff's department. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0.
Thank y'all.
That was a tough one.
I want you to know that this $500 donation from Kerrville Physical Therapy, I helped pay for that.
We really appreciate it. There's any left, we'll take some more.
My medical insurance. No, I pay the deductible.
Okay.
Let's call item 1.18. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to accept the Emergency Services District Number 1 compilation report for 10/01/2019 through 9/30/2020. Commissioner Harris.
ESDs are required to either have an audit or a compilation report, and they've done this, and it's in your backup material, and so I move for approval. Just kind of a routine deal every year.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve the compilation report of ESD 1 for the last fiscal year. For those in the public that don't understand the difference in audit, and I would defer to our auditor, but audits are a very thorough review of the books and records, and there is an actual certification of the process at the end. A compilation is where you take the customer, in this case the ESD's numbers, their information, and you compile it in acceptable format, but it is not a formal audit. It is, if you just think of it as the platinum standard is a certified audit, then a compilation is just below that, but it's good enough for the ESDs in being able to present their financial situation to us. And we went to this process a few years back when our last auditor passed away. And so this has been a practice that we do routinely to make it a little bit easier and more cost effective for them, because audits are very expensive and compilations are not quite as expensive.
A question there. In reading the report by the auditor, there seems to be a lot of concern in the letter. Okay, so do we just accept something where the person who performed the compilation report's got a lot of concerns?
It was done late, wasn't it? Wasn't that the problem? It wasn't compiled.
No, I'm talking about technical.
There was. I can tell you there was one. Okay. We had a changeover in treasurers in ESD 1.
Okay.
And they had 1 month out of the whole year that was the old treasurer. And that's where a different system of keeping books and stuff was done, and that was the only concern. But they were fine with it.
But there were more concerns than that in the letter.
It's all been resolved.
Well, it didn't say so in the letter. That's why my question is, if they've got a lot of concerns, do we just accept their report with their concerns, or what do we do?
And you want to refer to you?
I would probably defer to the county attorney. I mean, the responsibility in the regulation is that they turn in the compilation report to us, and that's fulfilling what I
think
believe
So we
it
accept the
says.
report, but there were issues, then that's a separate subject?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Whether or not we accept the report is discretionary with the court.
Okay.
And if we want to have remedial action or a plan of action on their part to address the concerns, we can do that.
And that would be our county auditor that would do that? Or the county attorney, or? Well, all of a sudden, there's a lot of concerns, so what do we do with those concerns?
The county auditor does not have any responsibility for this. That they used an outside firm, which is what they should be doing. And so I don't know if their board looked at the letter and addressed the letter. It would really be a question, I would think, to their board at this point.
So what I'm confused about, we're accepting a report that's got concerns in it, so that we just ignore them? What are we accepting?
Well, do you have a concern about the question? Look, we are our entity. Another entity can have their concerns. If we accept it, then we've accepted it.
The independent auditor has a concern.
Right.
So we just.
The independent auditor can pursue it, but for our purposes, we can accept it or reject it.
The independent auditor.
Regardless.
The independent auditor doesn't pursue it, she just reports.
Right.
So what do we do with this report?
And the ESD board adopted it to turn in.
I can speak to what we do in the corporate
Okay.
when we get a certified audit. When we get a certified audit, the auditor comes there and tells us how the financial operations of the company or the entity is being run. And if they're concerned about it, they identify their concerns. It's presented to management, to the board of directors. I've served on dozens of these boards. And what you do is you review it, and at that time, if you feel like it's something that needs to be addressed because the auditor is telling you it needs to be addressed, okay? Then you turn to management and say, is the management going to correct these deficiencies, or is the management going to address these concerns? And then you get the representation back from management as to what remedial actions we're taking to respond to the audit. And that's what the shareholders in the company expect. That's what the stakeholders and nonprofits expect to see. Are we making sure that the company is being run according to generally accepted accounting principles? Yeah. And a compilation, as I said, is a step down from that. The statute, I believe, and I'll defer to our county attorney on this one, I think the statute only requires that they submit the compilation to us. And then it says, and accepted by us. I think that's essentially the language. That they submit the compilation. And so ESD1 has met their obligation at this point to present that compilation to us so that we know how their financial operations are being conducted.
Right.
It now falls to us on how we respond to that. And I think what the statute says, and I'm not going to put words in anybody's mouth, but Ms. Stebbins is looking it up. I think what the statute contemplates is that we accept that compilation, which means that we are, whether we have raised eyebrows or not, we are accepting their practice.
Well, that's my position. I agree.
Well, let me read something out of the letter, okay? This is from, management has elected, I guess that's the ESD.
That's right.
Has elected to omit substantially all the disclosures required by accounting principles generally accepted by the United States of America. If omitted disclosures were included in the financial statement, they may influence the user's conclusions about the district's financial position, results of operation, or cash flows. According to the financial statements are not designed to be for those who are not informed about such matters. And in the last sentence it says, we have not audited or reviewed required supplementary information, and do not express opinion, or provide any acceptance on such information. So I don't know what we're accepting.
That is a common phrase that is used in every compilation.
The last sentence, let's clarify. The last
Okay.
sentence,
Okay.
you see that in every compilation
Okay,
report.
okay, so I accept that.
That's for the,
But this other second paragraph I just read sounded to me like somebody's got to take some action somewhere.
No, sir, that's just saying there's specific notes that if you were doing a full-blown compilation, if you were doing a full audit, and full-blown compilation is not the right word, but if you could add much more notes to the back that say it's a nonprofit organization, here's all of X, Y, and Z, you've got accounts receivable, here's all of the amounts that are due and when they're due. So when we get our county's audit, it has all of those footnotes to it so that somebody off anywhere can grab it, and if they want to know more about what accounts receivable are, they can go back to the notes that is in the notes section of the report. All this is saying is the compilation doesn't have all of the notes. I would, as a CPA, I would not be alarmed by the statement you just read.
As an engineer, I'm alarmed.
Yes.
And they're just required to file it with y'all.
Right. So
And
we
then it
accept
says
it
that
and
it's accurate.
we're not on the agreement.
I would be more concerned with it in years past. I was at the ESD board meeting when this was presented to the whole board by the treasurer, and his statement was that this firm was so glad that they'd gone to a new bookkeeping system that over what they'd done in the past, they had rave reviews for this year's bookkeeping facts that they gave them. So, anyway.
And they also
I'm
have
good
to follow
with
with THM that this is one of the steps they have to follow.
so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Those abstain, raise your hand. It passes 2-0-2.
Oh, nope, I don't know that it does. I think you have to have a majority.
No,
That
the
votes.
people that abstain are not voting.
You
I thought that was the ruling.
You got a majority for who's here.
No,
Yes, you do.
that's not, we went through this before. And if you abstain, then you're not voting.
Right.
You're not a voter.
So we
You
had,
still have to have a majority.
Still got to have a majority, the 4 people here.
Whether this formality is required, I'm not sure. It just says that the ESD has to file it with the Commissioners Court of the county that the district is in. So whether y'all accept it or not, I don't know that that's absolutely a requirement. I'd have to look, but
Okay.
they've given it to you, they're filing it.
Yeah, they presented it. They presented their obligation.
They still can't.
Well, just so that the public knows, because these are compilations and not audits, and when you have reservations expressed, I view it as implicitly incumbent on the party presenting the financials to explain them to us.
Yeah.
And I have a commissioner sitting next to me that's got questions about this, and I don't think his concerns are inappropriate. I suspect everything's fine. I have every reason to believe everything's fine. But this is a compilation, and I understand that the final accounting information that's provided our auditor may have all the footnote information here, but it's not in what we have. So that's
well stated. Huh. Okay.
So I don't know where we stand. I guess nothing happens at this point, no action taken.
County attorney, let me know where we stand.
Oh, let me look up the rules about the abstentions. So
Yes,
two
please
voted,
do.
we
two
did.
voted, both of them voted for it, 2 abstained. Let me look up the rules.
we had this happen once before.
We did, and it was the,
And what happened was that we changed the outcome.
They changed the
Correct.
outcome.
Because the abstentions are counted as a non-vote.
right.
They're not counted at all.
So it's as if they weren't here and you have a unanimous vote.
Now, but the issue that I see here is,
We had one more then.
That's,
we did.
yeah. Was that a 3 vote then? I thought it was a 2 vote that
Well, we just come back to this and we should find
Sure.
something to do and move on.
Maybe we need to reconsider this when we have another commissioner present.
Or we can come back, yeah, okay.
well, I'm looking for what the county attorney said.
Well, what I'm suggesting is why don't while the county attorney's looking,
Yeah,
so we
let's
can move on
Sure,
to the
yeah.
agenda.
Yeah, she tells us.
Okay, so we'll pass this for right now, come back to it as needed. We'll move on to item 1.19, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the renewal of the Texas Association of Counties Health and Employees Benefit Pool Medical and Dental Plan for fiscal year 21-22 for employees and retirees. Ms. Stoss.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. It's that time of year again, and there was an increase this year of 5.5%, but I'd like to point out that last year there was a decrease of 2% for the medical, and so technically, if you go back 2 years, it's only 5.5%.
Jennifer, can you speak up a little louder? I'm sorry. What was the
Sorry, the increase this year is 5.5%, but last year we had a 2.5% decrease. So if you go back 2 years, it's only, yeah, you have to go back 2 years. So since we had a decrease last year. But in order to maintain, based on the June elections of the employees, the increase in cost for the county to absorb all the difference is about $207,504. But I would also like to point out that we do have the addition of 20 new employees, or 20 additional employees this fiscal year compared to last fiscal year.
So is that included in the 207,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And based on current elections as of June, it would cost the county $207,000.
So this is a lot of data that you presented here, okay? Do we need to look at this in any more depth? Because I looked at it and I can't comprehend it all, that quickly. Say yay verily or what, so.
What, if you have questions? I mean, based on the pool, there was much more activity in the entire pool over all the counties. So it's not just Kerr counties, it's the whole entire pool that had more expenses this last year. And so they divvy it up based on our activity.
So this will be for next year, correct?
Correct.
So this will be considered part of our budget process?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we're approving today, but it's being asked for approval, is to
accept
move
the new
forward
rates.
with this in our budget process. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And the cost increase is because of activity around all over the state for this?
Correct.
And we've got additional employees?
Correct.
Gotcha, okay.
And if we would like to continue the current level of deductions for employee
Right.
only,
And we
all the levels, it
could
would
say
cost
yes
us.
or no as part of the budget process.
But we have to renew this package. It's due by June 30th.
This is renewing the same benefits package that we've had in years past.
Correct, the health and dental
For
portion.
this next fiscal year.
Yes.
So if we get in the budget, we say, oops, we need to find $207,000, what can we do? Can we change it at that time?
No,
we
and
answer is
if we
can't.
renew based on these rates, I mean, we
Okay.
could,
So
we could always.
this would be locked into the budget.
Correct.
So a $207,000 increase, what percentage increase is that? That's the 5%?
The rates are 2.5 or 5.5% increase, but based on current elections, that's what it would cost the county if we'd like to keep the deductions to the
Okay.
employees the same.
Okay, gotcha. All
We
right.
could pass some of the expense on to the employees,
Okay.
but I know in the past, y'all have tried to maintain the level that
Sure.
we
Okay.
have now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Jennifer, what is the deadline to get this in compared to going through our budget work?
It's June 30th.
June 30th?
Yes, sir.
So that's got to be done before we complete our budget work.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we did get the packet rather late, later than we normally get, so.
Right.
I can tell you that
Repeat the same thing.
we have a very good benefit package. Maybe our pay scale, maybe we kind of pinch pennies sometimes in wages and stuff, but
No,
make up
I
for
feel
it.
vindicated on our salary study.
Well, exactly.
I'm gonna tout
I
that.
mean, but
we have lost a few employees to outside. I was talking to Reagan this morning. He lost one to a couple of employees that found higher paying jobs. But
in West San Antonio.
Exactly. But they're not going to beat our benefit package.
Correct.
So I'm always in favor of it.
We have a very good package, and for us to continue to be competitive,
But you're right.
This is a
On our wage scale.
This is another
Well,
feather in our cap.
I'll move for approval for renewal of the TAC, Texas Association of Health and Employees Benefit Pool Medical Dental Plan for fiscal year 2021-22 for the employees and retirees for Kerr County.
There's a motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the medical and dental plan for fiscal year 21-22 with Texas Association of Counties Health and Employee Benefits Pool. Any discussion?
If depending on the price tag here, we're going to have to decide during the budget.
Yeah, right.
Whether the county carries all this, the employees carry part of it. Is that what we're talking about?
No, this
That's
is
still an option, or are we locking ourselves in?
We're locking ourselves in if we approve this today.
We're locking ourselves in.
For that. Not for the following year, but it would lock us into this budget cycle.
This basically is to cover for all the catastrophic stuff that we've had this last year.
It's health and dental.
I know.
It's health and dental.
That's all it is, health
That's all
and
it
dental.
is,
So
health
that
and dental.
shouldn't really change much.
5%.
But the pandemic year was more expensive. I think that's what we're all saying. It dropped the year before and it went up this year. It just bases on losses.
And it gives us, I mean, this is the benefits package consistent, as Commissioner Harris is saying, consistent in the past. Yeah, it's gone up a bit this year. So as part of the budget process, you know, if we approve this, then we've got, if we're shortfall, then we're going to have to look at something else in the budget to offset what this increase is.
Correct.
That's a sort of summary.
Well, there's going to be some pretty big additional expenses.
Right.
In areas like IT, for example.
Right.
Big expenses.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah. But we need to do this by
easily
June
this
30th.
amount or more.
So Tanya was pointing out that across the entire pool of Texas Association of Counties, the average increase was 7.5%, and the highest was 13%. So compared to the average, we're doing a lot better.
Okay. Okay.
But when we approve this today, then that's it. We can't do anything else about it.
Correct.
And what's our option if we don't approve it? What happens?
Well, we have to approve something, so if you don't like the additional cost of the $207,000, then we could talk about increasing the employees' deductions to offset the $207,000.
But that has to be done before June 30th.
Correct.
So those are your options.
And I would just really hate to see that happen.
Yeah, so the only thing my thought coming in here is we need to study this more, so maybe we have a small group study it. But in light of what Jennifer said and Tanya said, I'm okay with it. It's an increase. I mean, there's a lot of inflation going on. This
Right.
is just
You
part
know,
of
and
inflation.
we did decrease
Who
last
would
year.
have thought medical would go up, huh?
Yeah, who'd have thought?
Right. Right.
And along in this packet, and I made this mistake last year, but along in this packet, there's also an update in the healthy wellness contact designation. I changed that last year. So this year, since we had the retirement of the assistant person for the wellness program, I'd like to change the contact information to include Natalie Torres as the new contact for the health and wellness, along with Tracy and Dawn.
Is that another agenda item?
It's in this packet. It's in the health and benefits pool packet.
I see. It's in here.
I remember being flabbergasted about a year ago when she told us it went down 2.5%.
Right, that never happens.
Yeah. I thought, health insurance goes down. So,
Okay.
And the other part of the last thing that's in this proposal for approval is that we would like to continue the same CSI, the annual physical and healthy county contest, for one personal day off. So if you I'm sorry, my vocabulary has escaped me. If you complete 3 out of 4 of the county contests, getting your steps for the day, and you turn in annual evaluation, that makes you eligible for a paid day off the following year. That's what we've had the last several years, and that part of this packet is also approving that for the next year.
Okay.
So we've got all of those things included in this one simple agenda item.
Correct.
And we've not had any workshop to be able to discuss any of the component parts of this proposal.
You got to vote on it to see what's
I
in it.
know. I understand, but I'm just saying, that's where we are this year.
That's what we're hearing.
I'm not sure this is the same way I want to approach it next year.
Why are we getting this so late?
We just received it, you know, with courts the second and fourth. This was the first time I could get it on the agendas from when we received it. And I did share it with you all. As soon as I received it, I forwarded it to you, or emailed it to you. I mean, if you'd rather not focus or approve the paid day off, you know, the employee incentive program for the wellness, and the wellness coordinator contact, if we just look at the health and dental, I'm just saying that that's part of this renewal packet. I can hold off on those till later.
What I'm saying is there should be separate agenda items for each one of these things and not all rolled into one package that we've not focused on.
Okay.
So what the public's watching us do today is have to make a decision. Do we go ahead and adopt the same benefits packages for our employees as we've had last year?
Correct.
Even though it's going to cost us $207,000 more, without having the opportunity to discuss through a workshop these individual components that have gone into a very comprehensive agenda item that, quite frankly, I plead that I'm moderately unprepared for this.
Okay.
But I understand where we are, and I understand the importance of the benefits package. And even though, you know, I look at $207,000 and I'm not sure exactly where we're going to get that money, it's just an issue that we're going to have to address, but we're not going to have the luxury of being able to address it individually with regard to this policy because we didn't get it earlier.
You know, the way I looked at it is, do we keep the same benefits package? Okay. And
I think we do keep the same benefits.
Right, and if we do that, it's going to cost us $207,000 more, and we need to look at that as part of the budget process. And that decision needs to be made by June 30th.
And we do have the 20 additional employees this year, so that's part of the increase.
So my motion's still the same. Yeah.
And I still support keeping the benefits the same. I'm just frustrated with the way that we've dealt with it this year.
Yeah.
And so I merely express my professional displeasure so that we can avoid this kind of situation next year.
So hopefully in the future, next year we'll get it a little sooner and we can have a workshop. What you're saying, what I'm hearing is that you'd prefer a workshop before to discuss the increase and then bring it back to court for the actual approval.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed? 3-1.
Thank you.
Passes. Item 1.20, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve holiday and payroll schedule for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. Ms. Doss.
Yes, sir. The holiday schedule, we have the same number of holidays proposed for 21-22 as we did for the current fiscal year. We have Christmas falls on a Saturday, and January 1st, New Year's holiday, falls on a Saturday as well. So in both of those cases, I would just encompass the Friday and the Monday. Well, the Friday and the Monday before and after Christmas, and the Friday before the Saturday of New Year's Day. But it's the same number of holidays as we had last year.
Okay. Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the holidays and payroll schedule for fiscal year 21-22. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous 4-0.
Thank you.
Item 1. Thank you, Ms. Doss.
Thank you.
Item 1.21, consider, discuss, appropriate action to address merit pay for fiscal year 19-20 budget year. Commissioner Balloon.
Okay. This was originally, I think, Commissioner Moser's suggestion, and then we decided, because we had all of the everybody out for the virus scare, and everybody was working from home and it was not a usual typical year, and we were just gonna trash can the thing. And decided to go ahead, since we had told employees to expect merit pay, that they would get merit pay in some way, shape, or form. There were some problems with implementation was the thing. There are departments that have only one person or two people in it. So we decided that while it was a good idea, a good intention, it was hard to implement. So in order to not break faith with county employees and to disperse the money that was already budgeted, I'm proposing that we distribute to everybody who had been submitted for merit pay, which was a total of 273 people, which is a majority of the employees in the county. It comes out to about $151. Is that right, Ms. Shelton? So, per person. So this is something that really goes against my grain and my inner being. Everybody gets a trophy. But it is a way to put this to rest, to not break faith with county employees, and to use the money that we'd already budgeted for them. So that's my recommendation, that we distribute the money to the 273 employees who applied for merit pay or were submitted for merit pay by their supervisors, and then move forward with figuring out another way to do something like this. We're trying, Commissioner Mosier was trying to, well, you can tell me what you were trying to do.
Well, I was trying to, when we talked about this a couple of years ago, was to recognize above and beyond.
Right.
Okay, stuff. And that's what I still going. And I think earlier I said we're looking to pay for merit pay for employees above and beyond, but we're asking, citizens who are out of work or paying their taxes to contribute for above and beyond. So my thought was, my recommendation, I can't remember exactly what we said, but was to defer merit pay this year based on the unusual circumstance of a lot of people in the county. And I didn't know anything about merit pay. Let's just give it to everybody in the county. Did ever supervisor recommend?
No, sir. See, this for 273, that's based on active full-time employees that would be eligible, not including elected officials or departments that are paid through the state.
So would we take our merit pay and just distribute it to
They're
everybody?
all full-time actives.
Right.
But was that a request from supervisors to do that?
No, nobody
No.
requested that. That's just what we based it on.
This has been dangling out there, hanging out there. Nobody's come up with a better way to distribute it. And so here's what we do. We either say no and get it off the table, or do it this way.
Well, I can remember agreeing with Commissioner Mosier that there's people out in the community hurting, and they see us doing this, giving them above and beyond. I agreed with Commissioner Mosier to defer it to a later date.
And none of our employees were without their pay.
Exactly.
During this whole thing. Okay. And this is not above and beyond. Okay. All right.
So
understanding.
what my motion is that we, well, here's what I want. Before I get to that we decide today whether we're going to do this or not, because that could be considered under this agenda item. That we just be done with it or disperse the funds this way, because nobody's come up with a better way to disperse the funds.
This
So
is just for 1 year.
This is just for 1 year, and then we're going to have to move forward without this merit pay thing. Because it's too hard to implement it, and if you get into the nuts and bolts of how and why it's too hard to implement, then we'd be here a lot longer. But this is an easy way to do this, to clear the decks, I think. Something needs to be done one way or the other.
For the year 2019-20.
Yes.
Only.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And just to clarify, so that I understand, Ms. Shelton, we did not pay that money out during that fiscal year. It's still in our fund balance, and it just hasn't been spent at this time.
This is money that was budgeted for this current year.
For this current year?
This current year, yes.
Okay, it says 19.
It actually. It
would have been for year end 2020, and we were gonna do it in December, and we didn't.
Right.
Right.
We
And
got
it got carried over,
We got it
so-
carried over to the first of the year, and then COVID hit, and we had a train wreck.
So it's been dragging on for a long time. I'd just like to
So,
do something with it.
but what I'm trying to get clarification from our auditor is, because that money should have been paid out by year end 2020. That's what we had originally planned. And I'm not sure there was an obligation to do it at that point, but that is in that fiscal year budget.
That is what the policy said. The money was budgeted in the 2021 year budget that we are in right now. So it's like we're talking policy one way and we're talking budget another way.
And how much money do we have in that account?
It's
50,000.
50,000.
50,000? And we can either distribute that 50, or if we don't distribute it, what happens with that $50,000?
It will go back into fund balance.
Which would help pay for what we were talking about a moment ago. The $207,000.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I look back on the coronavirus year, somewhat like the year from hell, but in any event, it's almost like force majeure with a lot of things that we would normally do that we couldn't do. And this is something that got caught in the balance. I think I'm inclined just to leave that money in the fund balance so that we can work with those funds as constructively as possible for the benefit of the public and of our employees.
I agree.
So that'd be my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I made a motion, seconded by Commissioner Baloo, to address the merit pay for fiscal year 19-20 by just leaving it alone for the time being and leave it let it ride over into the fund balance. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Tough decision, but got to do something. Thank you, Commissioner Baloo. We needed to address that. Item 1.22, consider, discuss, and take. I'll tell you what, it's a little bit, about 12 minutes after 11. Let's take a 5-minute break and come back, because we're going to wear people out on this stuff. Okay, we'll come back to order. It's a longer morning than we expected. Please be patient with us. The next two items, I think we have Ms. Hoffer. We're going to call 1.22, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the Commissioners Court approval to accept a general contract for a small project with Cypress Roofing to replace 10 fiberglass skylights in the Road and Bridge Mechanic Shop. Ms. Hoffer.
I have before you a general contract with Cypress Roofing to replace 10 fiberglass skylights in the Road and Bridge Mechanic Shop. When the weather is cold and all of the shop doors are down, the old discolored skylights no longer allow much light to come into the shop. We have lighting in the shop and we have added additional lighting, but it still is very dark in the shop on rainy days and winter months when the doors are closed. I have attached the general contract with Cypress Roofing, certificate of insurance, and the quote from Cypress Roofing in the amount of $3,700 and no cents. At this time, I ask the Commissioners Court for their approval for the general contract with Cypress Roofing to replace 10 fiberglass skylights in the mechanic shop at the Road and Bridge Department in the amount of $3,700 and precinct 1, 2, 3, 4.
Kelly, what did you say about the insurance?
Proof of insurance from the vendor. They have to show proof of insurance.
But was there an insurance claim?
No.
So this
No,
is
they're just old.
License plate.
They're just old. That building.
So it doesn't have anything to do with insurance?
No. No, I just put in the packet the proof of insurance from the Cypress Roofing Company.
Oh,
They have to
proof of insurance from
They have to
Cypress.
prove
Oh,
to the
okay,
county
gotcha.
that they
I'm
have
sorry,
a minimum amount.
I was confused.
No,
They're
yes, sir.
Cypress Roofing proof of insurance?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Baloo, seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the proposed contract with Cypress Roofing for the Road and Bridge Mechanic Shop. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Item 1.23, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the Commissioners Court approval to accept the general contract for a small project with Texas Site Services, LLC, to sweep and vacuum 7 county-maintained roads with concrete curbing. This is in precincts 2, 3, and 4. Ms. Hoffer.
I have before you a general contract with Texas Site Services, LLC, to sweep/vacuum 7 county-maintained roads that have concrete curbing. Almost all of our roads do not have concrete curbing, so when we sweep with the sweepers that we have, minus a vacuum setup, we sweep the rock off the road after a fresh seal coat. With concrete curbing, there's nowhere for you to sweep it off the road, so it's stuck between those 2 concrete curbs. It makes it very difficult. It's a lot of hand shoveling, and most of the time you don't get all of the loose rock up. We have 3 roads. I think next week they're planning on seal coating in Castlecombe, and we have 2 in Silver, I think it's Silver Saddle, is that the name of it, on Town Creek Road, that has 2 roads. And so we're gonna, once we get those seal coated, those will be 5, and then we have 2 from last year in Greenwood Forest that also has the concrete curbing. So I found a company that can do that job. He estimated it to be 10 hours to do it, but he said you can run into things. So I said, why don't you, I had contacted Heather, and she said, to have him put a little bit in there just in case something happens, but his rate is $150 an hour. We don't anticipate that the 7 roads to take 20 hours, but we wanted to make sure we had extra time built into in case there are issues that arise. Like I said, the roads on the list are as follows: Precinct 2, Cardiff, Dover, and Kensington and Castlecombe subdivision. Precinct 3, Muleshoe and Silver Saddle and Horseshoe Oak subdivision. And Precinct 4, Wedgewood and Wild Timber and Greenwood Forest subdivision. If the court approves this contract, a certificate of insurance and completed Form 1295 will be required, along with signatures of the general contract. At this time, I ask Commissioners Court for their approval for the general contract with Texas Site Services, LLC, to sweep/vacuum the 7 roads mentioned. The amount is not to exceed $3,000 for 20 hours of work, and this is in precinct 2, 3, and 4.
This in the budget?
I move for approval.
I have this in my contingency budget, 15-6112-599. I've got about $21,000 in that line item.
Okay. Second?
Can they start in precinct 4 today?
Gotta wait for those other 2 subdivisions to get sealed, but they said this morning it would probably be next week on those
Good.
5 roads.
Good.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Harris, a second by Commissioner Moser to approve the general contract with Texas Site Services LLC to sweep and vacuum county maintained roads, precincts 2, 3, and 4. This is in response to some complaints, I know that, and it has to do with the fact that the county's sweepers that we have are not designed for curb neighborhoods. They're designed for county roads, and so they sweep the rocks off to the side. The complaint comes up in the context of we're seal coating our county roads and not hot mix asphalting those county roads. And for those that don't understand the engineering differences between those, the hot mix asphalt provides for a much quieter surface, whereas the seal coat, when you put those rocks on top and seal that down, is a very durable roadway, but it's also a noisier roadway.
And cheaper.
It's much cheaper and lasts much longer, and we've made that as part of our program, trying to get all of our roads caught up within the next several years, so that we can resurfaces on them. But what happens is in the more residential neighborhoods in the county that are not gated communities and don't maintain their own streets, have been getting the same county roads as everybody that lives out on the ranches. And the complaint is that they want to reduce some of the noise and the rock accumulation along the curbs. Am I stating this right, Ms. Hoffer?
Yes.
And I read your response, and it was very well written, and I agree with everything you say, by the way. But this is a relatively small accommodation we make to the people that live in those neighborhoods to try to make their roadways nicer and more accommodating for them, even though, without varying our general county specs is how we do our county roads. So that's the accommodation, and I'm completely in favor of this.
Thank you.
Without doubt.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffer. You're doing a wonderful job. The next items on the agenda, we've got 3 public meetings back to back that I'm going to convene here in just a second, and then we have 5 after that. I think Charlie Hastings, at least his name appears on the next 8 items, so if you would, take your seat at the witness stand, and we will proceed accordingly. Let me call first of all item 1.24, which is a public meeting, and I'm convening that meeting to order as we speak for a revision of plat for the Kerrville Country Estates Section 2, Lot 37. Is there anyone here that wants to speak on that issue? This is a public meeting. The public is invited to speak. There being no one, then I will adjourn the meeting. We'll move on to the next public meeting, which is item 1.25, which is a public hearing for the revision of plat for estates at Turtle Creek Sections 2, Lots 39 and 40. Public meeting is convened and the public is invited to speak. Does anyone wish to do so? There being no one, then that public meeting is adjourned. And we'll move on to item 1.26, which is a public meeting for the revision of plat for River Dance Ranch, Lot 2. Public meeting is open. Is anybody here to speak on behalf of that? There being no one, then the public meeting is adjourned. Now moving on to action items, we go to item 1.27. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve a revision of plat for River Dance Ranch, Lot 2. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you, Judge. This proposal revises and enlarges Lot 2, currently 5.01 acres, by adding a portion of an adjacent unplatted tract. Property access and road frontage will remain on Highway 39. This property is in the floodplain, must meet requirements for development in the floodplain. The county engineer requests the court approve a revision of plat for Riverdance Ranch Lot 2, plat file number 20-08922, precinct 4. And we just had a public hearing a moment ago and nobody spoke.
I move for approval.
Second.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to approve the revision of plat for River Dance Ranch Lot 2. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Next action item is 1.28. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve a final plat for Lahita subdivision. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you. This proposal creates 3 lots with frontage along State Highway 27 in Center Point. Lot 1 will be 72.4 acres. Lot 2 and 3 will be 5.01 acres each. All lots are partially within the floodplain and must meet requirements for development in the floodplain. County engineer requests the court approve a final plat for Lahita subdivision, volume 1175, page 453, precinct 2.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Baloo, to approve final plat approval for Lahita subdivision, precinct 2. Is there any discussion? There being none, those in favor raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Item 1.29, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to conditionally approve a preliminary plat for Shadow Bluff and Hunt, precinct 4.
Thank you, Judge. This preliminary plat proposes 8 lots and a common area park in Hunt, Texas. A concept plan was presented to the court on May the 10th, 2021. Access to the proposed lots will be from Bear Creek Scout Road, Cedar Cliff Loop, and FM 1340. A portion of the property is in the floodplain and must meet requirements for development within the floodplain. Conn Cemetery is on the property as shown on the plat. Bear Creek Scout Road contains a sharp curve next to Lot 5 that must be addressed. Additional right-of-way amount to be determined must be dedicated. Subdivision plans and/or drainage study must be received and approved. These conditions are required prior to consideration of the final plat. The county engineer recommends the court approve a preliminary plat for Shadow Bluff in Hunt, Texas, with conditions that subdivision plans and/or drainage study are received and approved by the county engineer, and additional right-of-ways to be dedicated. Precinct 4.
I move for approval. Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Harris and seconded by Commissioner Baloo to approve the preliminary plat for Shadow Bluff, precinct 4. Any discussion? Charlie, is this the one, we changed the name of this one, is that right?
That's correct.
I knew there was some confusion about the name, but we've now got all that cleared out?
That's correct.
Okay.
They've gone with Shadow Bluff.
I like it.
Thank you.
Good name.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Item 1.30, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to authorize Commissioner Moser and Commissioner Letts to authorize and approve road closures for their respective precincts in East Kerr County Center Point Wastewater Project, precincts 2 and 3.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Baloo, to authorize Commissioners Moser and Letts to approve and authorize road closures in their precincts for the East Kerr County Wastewater Project. Any discussion?
I'd like for Mosier to be the flag man out there.
Get him a vest.
And a hard hat.
And a hard hat.
Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0.
Making Charlie's job too easy.
Well, I'm trying to show off for Ms. Powers. We have Bonnie Powers has joined us
Right.
today, the League of Women Voters,
Right.
come to watch how we do,
Kidding.
Right.
how county government is run. We can be a little bit faster and do it more efficiently, as you can see. But, let's move on to Charlie's next item, which is item 1.31. Consider, discuss, or take appropriate action to authorize the county engineer to prepare plans and specifications for the reconstruction of 2.6 miles of Ranchero Road and said road damaged in the Winter Storm Uri, and to take steps to fund same. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you, Judge. Partially, one of the main reasons behind this agenda item is really to get out to the public that when you have a road like Ranchero Road damaged in a storm like we had in the winter storm, and you already have your budget set up and you already have everything moving towards your normal road program, it really throws a wrench in things, and it's not easy to recover. It takes time. So I'm going to go through the timeline of where we have been and where we're going. February the 11th through the 19th, Winter Storm Uri damages 2.6 miles of Ranchero Road. The initial damage estimate was about $1.3 million is what we would thought it would take to get it fixed. And we didn't have $1.3 million in the cushions of our sofas. So February the 22nd through April the 9th, we're going through a process of debris removal, patching as needed, damage assessments, and recovery funding requests submitted to FEMA. Now that's countywide, it's not just for Rancho Road. That's not the only road in the whole county that got damaged. So a lot of these comments are really addressing the whole global issue of the entire county suffering from that storm and what it is taking to recover. April the 12th, 2021, the court authorizes geotechnical pavement evaluation of Rancho Road. April the 19th, 2021, the court adopts a resolution in support of submitting revised recovery funding request to FEMA. We found after the geotech report, hey, we can do this a lot cheaper, more efficiently, more cost effective. And on May the 13th, 2021, the revised recovery funding request was submitted to FEMA, and the revised number for Rancho Road is estimated at $680,000. So about $700,000 as opposed to $1.3 million. That's a good deal. Rancho Road is in need of immediate reconstruction, as continued patching is both expensive and short-lived. And we're having people come to the office and they're reminding us of that. We know that, but you got to do what you got to do. The work will involve significant traffic control measures, expediency, and the placement of hot mix asphalt cement, all of which are beyond the scope of road and bridge personnel. Although a disaster relief funding request in the amount of $680,000 has been sent to FEMA, there's no guarantee the request will be awarded, either partially or in full, and it is unknown when said funding would be available if awarded. Therefore, a funding plan must be developed and executed in a timely manner, preferably during the summer of 2021. The court could possibly make use of emergency funding for this project, perhaps from fund balances or contingency, or seek other forms of funding. I'm not here to ask about that, but what we'd like to do is get the ball rolling on certain things that we can do. Most Kerr County maintained roads have a chip seal surface, and therefore work can only be done in the summer months. However, since Rancho Road surface is comprised of hot mix asphalt cement, and our climate is typically warm year-round, work can also be done year-round on that road. If plans and specifications were prepared now, and the project were advertised and bid over the summer, reconstruction of Rancho Road could begin as soon as October 1, 2021, when the fiscal year 2022 budget begins. So all that to say that the county engineer is recommending that the court authorize the county engineer to prepare plans and specifications for the reconstruction of 2.6 miles of Rancho Road, said road damaged in Winter Storm Uri, and take steps to fund the same. That part would be the court. I'm recommending the court take steps to fund it, but I'm asking you to authorize me to prepare plans and specs. I would come back later this summer when they're ready and get permission to advertise. So we can kind of take this step by step, but I believe that's the next step in the process.
So this is just to prepare plans and specs?
Yes, sir. And then I don't know if y'all want to have a quick discussion right now about how it be funded.
I want to weigh in. Charlie and I have talked about this extensively, and as have Tanya Shelton and I, our auditor. And to relate back to some of my earlier comments about the difficulty of knowing whether the federal government is going to grant us the funds they say they're going to give us or not, this is a classic example. There is no doubt that Rancho Road was completely destroyed during this winter storm, and yet when we send the application to FEMA, we get back a whole bunch of crawfish. Those people can move sideways faster than anybody I know. And I don't mean to be critical of the federal government. I'm just saying that they have criteria, and they can be very nearsighted in the way they interpret that criteria. We cannot afford the luxury of not repairing Rancho Road, and that's just a fact. And I've talked to Kelly about it. I've talked to Charlie about it, and what we have done in the upcoming budget, the workshops that begin next week. We have included in that budget the necessary funding to be able to repair Rancho Road. Whether the federal government's going to give us the money or not, it is going to be repaired. And we've asked Charlie to prepare these plans for us so that we can do this. I can tell you that in terms of our existing fund balance, we are in good shape to be able to fund this if need be. In terms of our where we will be with our fund balance for the next fiscal year, we have this budgeted in next fiscal year. So if we actually begin in October, like it's talking about, that would come out of the budget that we're getting ready to work on. But the intent has been that we are repairing Rancho Road, and we hope that the federal government sees the good sense in having that done. But if they don't, it will be done for the citizens. So that's and I teased Charlie. He was talking to me about it. And he was saying, well, Judge, we don't know where the money's gonna come from. I said, Charlie, it's in the budget. He says, but Judge, I don't know where. I said, Charlie, it's in the budget. And I think he was a little bit surprised. The public may be surprised as well. But this is something that simply has to be done.
Sure.
It's a matter of public safety.
Now, this means it has to go back with the same materials that is on the road now.
Yes, sir.
Hot mix.
Yeah.
Hot mix asphalt.
Okay.
One of the only roads in the county that has hot mix. And for good reason. This road gets 6,000 vehicles a day on it.
Traffic.
And because of the storm and because of the layout, there were not alternative routes for people to take. You're driving down Ranch Hill Road if you want to leave.
Detour, are we just gonna have traffic control?
There'll be
Somebody
traffic
can-
control. This is why
Well,
it's
this could be
critical to
flagged
hire a
down.
contractor that is a big outfit that can handle
Yeah.
the traffic control.
Yeah,
Yes.
plus you got a school right there,
Yes.
a lot of traffic.
Okay.
So what all we're approving today is for you to begin the planning process for this.
Yes, sir.
Prepare plan,
And
plan to inspect.
And unless you want more of a brief conversation about the funding, I can just tell you that we are planning to be able to fund it, and we are hoping to be able to get reimbursed by FEMA.
We look forward to the workshops.
Okay.
So with that, I'll make a motion that we authorize the county engineer, Charlie Hastings, to begin the plans to repair Ranchero Road.
Second.
Okay, been seconded by Commissioner Moser. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Thank you.
Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 1.32. Mr. Robles, you've shrunk. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to update the budget or calendar for fiscal year 2021-22.
Yes, the only difference in the budget calendar presented to you is we're removing the meeting that was to be held tomorrow, and we're condensing everything that was in that meeting to the 21st.
Say, do we have a copy of that?
Yeah. Well,
No.
yours is right here.
Oh, right there. No, okay.
Isn't that it?
No, that's old, that's the old one.
Here's the new one.
I can give you mine.
Okay. And
That it?
say again,
Yep.
Tanya, what the
We had
change-
one scheduled for tomorrow.
That's omitted.
We have one Wednesday, don't we? Oh, no, Wednesday's the airport.
Right.
So what was the change, Tanya?
We had originally scheduled a meeting for tomorrow, as Heather took my sheet to copy, but it was tomorrow, and we're no longer going to have that meeting. We are going to condense everything into one meeting.
Okay, good.
It was two meetings for the same topic, so it's
Okay.
just easier to discuss
Okay,
it on one
okay,
day.
thank you.
And part of the reason for that is that we haven't had, there hasn't been that much adverse feedback from our departments and offices. So we don't anticipate it's going to be that long.
Okay.
Plus, Mr. Robles was finishing a family vacation that he had out on the books for a long time.
Okay.
And would have to rearrange his flight schedule to come back in time to host this thing tomorrow afternoon. And it just didn't seem necessary, and so
Okay.
I recommended that we move it all off and just do
Okay.
a little bit longer session on the 21st.
Okay, good enough.
And then if I understand correctly, we don't have another workshop until the 30th, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
Wednesday the 30th?
yes, that is correct.
Because somehow, and don't ask me how I do these things, but when I put calendar entries on my computer, sometimes I don't know where they come from. And I had one down for the 23rd, and we do not have one on the 23rd, right?
We do not.
Good, because I have a conflict. Makes me feel a whole lot better than human error.
Okay, good enough.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the
I'll move for approval.
revised budget schedule? Okay. Motion from Commissioner Harris,
So,
second by Commissioner Blue. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Next item is 1.33, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to authorize the county judge to sign the addendum to Exhibit A for the arbitrage rebate services with BLX Group LLC, Series 2018 and 2019 certificates of obligation. And simply put, what these are refinances, right?
These are for the Texas Water Development Board bonds, certificates of obligation that are out, and the company, BLX, goes in and performs all the calculations that are needed to see whether or not we've made too much interest on those COs. The wastewater treatment program is running a little bit behind, so it's not a natural. And so we already have this contract for the 2016 CO, and we're just extending it for the 2018 and 2019.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the addendum for the arbitrage rebate services agreement with DLX Group LLC. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is one that I have to put on before every holiday, and that is 1.34, to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to address possibility of prohibiting or restricting the sale or use of restricted fireworks. In other words, skyrockets with sticks or missiles with fins in any portion of the unincorporated area of Kerr County pursuant to the local government code. So, as always, I turn to Commissioner Harris to see where we are on the index.
Well, since I've been in office, I've been following this Keach-Byram drought index for all these things, and it is the lowest rating I've ever seen since I've been doing this. I mean, we are lush and green, and at the very minimum of any fire hazards. So, with that being said, I move for approval, or there's no restrictions that we can apply.
Well, we don't have to, there's no restrictions unless we take actions to restrict, right?
Right.
That's right.
So we don't need to take action, and what you're recommending is that we not take action.
Exactly.
Right.
On this subject of fireworks, Heather, could you just tell us what we can and can't do? Because and probably everybody, I've received a lot of emails, and probably everybody else has, about why the county doesn't eliminate fireworks in the city because of what it does to animals and et cetera, et cetera. And that's primarily it. It's, you know, it's the animals being frightened and hurting themselves, and Heather, I think, has got a good explanation of that. So as part of that subject, we get on this agenda, if you could just explain that for us.
Of course. For this particular date and for New Year's Eve, you can't prohibit the sale of fireworks in the same way. So this would be the time where, if there was a drought, you could restrict the
Those two things.
the skyrockets with sticks and
Missiles with fins.
thank you. But for the other dates that have started, y'all have started permitting sales in recent years since the law changed to allow you guys to permit those sales within the county. And you can still restrict those two prohibited fireworks if you'd like to during those times. But with July 4th and New Year's, those two dates are not discretionary.
So all other dates, we could restrict them.
All other dates.
You could restrict everything.
Right. You have to authorize the sale if you want them to be able to be sold during that time.
Okay. All right.
Well, but to clarify, so the public, because I get the complaints too. We all do.
Right.
And I just use Cinco de Mayo as an example because I did get we got a lot of feedback on Cinco de Mayo.
Thanks to some
We are not-
misreporting.
Pardon?
Thanks to some misreporting.
But, and that Cinco de Mayo is one of those holidays that we can authorize the sale of fireworks. Is that correct, Ms.?
That's right. You have Cinco de Mayo, San Jacinto Day, Texas Independence Day, and Memorial Day.
Okay.
And are we permitted to prohibit fireworks during those holidays?
Yes, if you're going to allow sales, the court must take action to permit them.
So those require affirmative action.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is presumptive on July 4th and New Year's Eve.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And with regard to limiting fireworks on the skyrockets with sticks and missiles with fins, that's based upon a drought index, is that correct?
That's correct. I don't know what the number is off the top of my
It
head.
has to be 600 to 700 on that Keach-Byram index.
Thank you.
And I think there's something in there that can be that index and some other considerations too. We did that one time recently where we precluded, drought index was okay, but there were other issues.
There were other safety issues, yes, sir.
Right.
And then, one last thing that I would ask is, I can remember being threatened with litigation from various firework sellers in years past. Do you remember when we went through that?
I remember the calls, because we.
Maybe I didn't get the calls.
We had somebody
We
that
did.
came in and was talking for us.
Well, we had that, but before that, even, is when I first got on the court. I think maybe we did not allow something and we didn't follow the rules. We could.
I think what it was, and look, this is group recall here.
Right.
We limited the skyrockets with sticks and missiles with fins at a time when the drought charts indicated that they should be permissible, and we did
That's
not
what
allow
it
them.
was.
I think you're correct.
And so, in response to that, we've been trying to be more careful, and that's why we have you at the podium today, keeping us straight, and why I always turn to Commissioner Harris, because he's the one that monitors the drought index to see where we are with it. But we have no choice but to approve the sale of fireworks for this holiday, and we have no choice at this point to not limit skyrockets with sticks and missiles with fins.
Sure.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thanks, Heather.
Okay, so no action. Okay, Ms. Dowdy, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to set a public hearing on July 12, 2021 at 9:30 in the morning to be held in the Commissioner's Courtroom for the purpose of presenting the County Clerk's annual record archival plan in accordance with the local government code.
This is just to set the public hearing, and we can go into details later, unless the court would like me to go into
We can do that at the public hearing.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Got a motion from Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Blue, to set a public hearing for July 12, for the county clerk to present her annual record archival plan in accordance with local government code. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Okay. Approval agenda, 2.1, pay the bills.
Invoices for today's consideration equal $1,028,806.59.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve paying the bills as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Budget amendments.
Yes, we have 7 budget amendments for your consideration. The first 2 are line item transfers, and then the last 5, the next 4 on the list, let me back up a little bit, are due to the storm damage, and so they're just certified that insurance is coming in for that, and to change the budget for the expenditures for the repairs. And then the very last is to show the revenue for the Tech Stock grant that we have received, and to increase the budget for that, and that was about $91,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris and seconded by Commissioner Blue to approve the budget amendments as presented. And just so that the public understands, when we talk about line item transfers, those are funds that are within the budget of that particular department or office, and it's moved from one column to the next, depending on how the expenses have varied and what throughout the year's expenses. And then the insurance related is when we have possible reimbursement from insurance, we need to change the budget to accommodate for those. And then with this grant, that was an award of money that comes into the county that we need to reflect in the budget. So, with that, any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Auditor reports.
Do you want to do those before the late bills?
Oh, I'm sorry,
have a
late bills.
bill. Okay.
2.3, I overlooked the late bills, thank you.
We have $446.25 for a late bill.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Blue to approve the late bill as presented. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. 2.4, auditors reports.
Yes, we performed an internal audit for the county clerk's office, and we ask that you accept the report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Blue to approve the auditor's report as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Monthly reports.
Yes, quarterly portfolio summary for period January 1, 2021 through March 31, 2021, submitted by County Treasurer Tracy Sullivan. For April 2021 payroll approval report, County Treasurer Tracy Sullivan. For May 2021 Constable monthly report, Constable 1, Tommy Rodriguez, Constable 2, Kyle Snyder, Constable 3, Ken Wilkie, Constable 4, Brad Ryder. Fines, judgments, and jury fees collected, JP 1, Mitzi French, JP 2, J.R. Home, JP 3, Kathy Mitchell, JP 4, Bill Ragsdale, District Clerk Don Lance, County Clerk Jackie J.D. Dowdy, Payroll Approval Report, County Treasurer Tracy Sullivan, Indigent Services, HR Director Jennifer Goss. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the reports as presented. And just for demonstrative purposes, these are the reports. This is what we get on a monthly basis pretty much that need to be reviewed and approved. So if there's no other discussion, those in favor, raise your hand. Reports are approved. And we all have to sign them. You'll see us passing back and forth each other now. Go ahead. Start. Let's go to, are we going to do court orders today?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Les gave these to me. He reviewed them all, and these are court orders 30/8/7/27 through 30/8/7/46 from Monday 5/24/2021 regular meeting. And he says they're all good for his review, so I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Ballew to approve the court orders as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous 4-0. Okay, we'll move on to the information part of the agenda. 3.1, status reports from department heads.
Yes, sir.
Shane Evans.
Yes, sir. Early May, the Union Church sustained some wind damage to the roof, and I've had TAC. They went out and their adjuster and gave a report back. With their report, what they would like to do with the roof at this point is a full replacement on the right side slope, and repair the left slope for a cost of $6,948. I wonder if it would behoove us to have the whole, go ahead and have the whole roof replaced.
So insurance just covered half the roof?
Basically covered half the roof, and then repair the left side that had some wind damage.
And that'll look really good.
So what is the type of roofing that we have?
It's a composite shingle.
It's composite, okay. And what would be the cost to us to do the other?
I haven't went out to get bids to do that. Before I did that, I wanted y'all's opinion on should we go ahead and do the whole roof, both left and right side.
Well, I think you need to get a bid. See
Yes,
what it is.
You could get both.
Oh, we don't have an agenda item to take any action on
Right.
today.
No.
But as
It's
far
just
as the
information.
information,
Yeah.
I would think that we would want to take a look at what it's going to cost to do a complete roof rather than
Right,
just do a piece.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other department heads reports? Ms. Dawes?
Yes, I would love to introduce your new HR team. Get up, ladies.
Stand up, team.
In the blue, we have Rosa Hernandez. She's the HR generalist. She handles the payroll and benefits. And on your right, you have Natalie Torres. She's the HR assistant / indigent health clerk. And I cannot say enough.
You
Wonderful
announced that
things
like a prize fight. In the
about
blue.
these ladies. In the ring, we have. No, and they have just jumped right in. They are problem solvers. They have helped me so much. They've been here such a short time, but they're a huge asset to our team.
Welcome, ladies.
Welcome.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay, item 3.2, reports from elected officials. Anything? Okay, item 3.3, reports from liaison commissioners. I have something to report, and last week I was asked to go down to join the governor in Del Rio, along with about another, probably at least another 100 county judges with us, as well as sheriffs and mayors, and there was quite a gathering down there on the border crisis. And just to let you know that he gathered us all together, told us what he was thinking about doing, and then we made a press announcement, and so what you read in the paper has been accurately reported as what he's trying to do. But it was very reassuring to see that many elected officials and landowners. There was a big portion of this meeting were the actual landowners themselves that came together, and there was an overall consensus that we need to help secure our borders a little bit better than what they're being done right now. So I just report that as.
Was there good turnout for the people invited, a high percentage?
Yes. For the big meeting, I think they had a meeting for the sheriffs at one point, and they had the meeting for the county judges and mayors at one point. And then they had the big meeting, which was with landowners and everybody. And I would estimate there were well over 500-600 people there.
But percentage of those that were invited, a high percentage turned out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
In fact, among the Hill Country County judges that, we have our own little social group that when we get together. I think we took up about 2 rows.
Fantastic.
Good.
Good deal.
And the judges coming all the way from Karn City and
Sure.
3 Rivers. And so
Good deal.
Quite a turnout.
That's fantastic.
Anything else with commissioners?
No, Shane kind of took me off the hook talking about the Union Church, so that's all I have.
I'm looking here for the latest award they won with the our Kerr County Historical Commission.
Oh, yes.
It's been award-winning for some time, and I thought I would read that. But
20 years in a row.
yeah, 20 years in a row. So just to make note of it and to thank them for the fine work that they're doing. Don't necessarily have to read about it, but they continue to rack them up. And Julie Leonard has done a very good job, along with everybody else with the Historical Commission.
And so the public understands there is a special recognition of that award. It's going to be a Commissioner's Court meeting. But this is just kind of advance notice that our Historical Society wins again.
It's one you can be proud of.
Absolutely.
The other thing I'd mention is liaison-wise is the meeting we have with the Joint City Council, Commissioners Court, and Airport Board on Wednesday at 1:30. And that's going to be a very, very important meeting. I'll just use my term. I call it Fisher Cook Bait meeting. Jim Nance would call it a crossroads. Okay, it has to do with recognizing the airport and what city and county want to do with that asset long-term, maintain it, or improve it as an asset. So it's going to be a really super important meeting.
That open to the public?
Yeah, well, anytime we gather, yeah, it's open to the public. Yeah.
They're publicly posted meeting.
Right.
And then the only other thing I would report is to make this court aware that our chief defender in the Public Defender's Office is requesting to be transferred, have the supervision of the grant and the office transferred to the lead account. And that'll be considered at the upcoming board meeting on the 24th. I think it's fair to say he is not happy with Kerr County.
He's requesting what be transferred?
The grant.
The grant?
And supervision.
Oh, really?
So it's
Basically.
his dissatisfaction. His dissatisfaction. And trust me, I throw no stones because I never hear from the guy. He never tells me anything. Be that as it may, he's not happy with IT, he's not happy with the auditor, he's not happy with HR, he's not happy with me, he's not happy with Commissioner Latz, he's not happy with any of us.
Wow.
And he wants to go to Medina County.
And this
we will be dealing with that this week, and it will probably be addressed at the board meeting on the 24th.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
How will that be determined?
Well, the chairman of our board, the PDO board, is Keith Williams, who's trying to convene a meeting this week. in order for us to be able to address these issues with Mr. Bull, because we have not had them voiced to us so that we can address them. But that's, the first thing is we're trying to meet this week. That meeting will include probably Commissioner Letts and myself, Judge Williams, as well as John Bull. We're trying to do that preemptively before the board meeting next week. We have requested that Judge Schuhart come up from Hondo to be present to sit down and try to help us work some of these things out. But that's kind of where we stand.
Okay.
That's just a heads up. Don't want to surprise you when we come in here in 2 weeks and something's changed.
Okay.
So, with that, is there any other business before the court? There being, and we have no executive session, right?
That's right.
Therefore, we stand adjourned.
Just